You are listening to Game Day exclusive on Talksport with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Nottingham Forest against Leicester and Liverpool against Arsenal. Both are live today. You can search Now Sports. Live on Talksport, though, imminently is our huge Premier League game to kick off this Sunday. It is Newcastle against Chelsea. Live from St James's Park, Danny Mills and Sam Matterface are there for us. And it's such a big game for both of these sides. And it's a big game for both of these managers, isn't it? Which I find quite fascinating, because you've got Eddie Howe, who will forever be a legend at this club. He'll probably get a statue one day for delivering silverware to St James's Park. You've got Enzo Maresca, who's got a really difficult relationship with the fans as well. But of course, all will be forgiven if there's a place in the Champions League next season. How do you see this game going?
I'm looking forward to it. I want to see how, when I've seen Newcastle here in the past, their right-hand side has been absolutely exceptional. The understanding, it's generally been Trippier that I've seen, along with Jacob Murphy. Both very, very experienced players, and almost a telepathic understanding at times. Murphy comes short and then just spins, and Trippier plays the ball in behind. Newcastle look to get on the front foot very, very quickly. And I'm not talking about hoofing the ball down the pitch. Midfield players get turned and they play balls down the sides of fullbacks, in between the fullbacks and centre half, and get people running onto them, get the momentum going. Joel Linton's been a huge part of that. He'll be a massive miss in the middle of the park with his energy. Obviously Gordon's back in. He hasn't played an awful lot of football as late. Obviously after he got sent off, then missed the cup final, and a struggle to get back in, because Newcastle have been doing very, very well. Newcastle are very much a front foot team. If they start well, they will cause Chelsea an awful lot of problems with their high press. When they turn the ball over, they look to get in behind very, very quickly. It's just whether, and especially today, it's a very, very hot day. I know it's early, 12 o'clock kickoff, but it's still very, very warm. Can they keep that press up? Can they keep that energy for 90 minutes? That's sometimes where they've struggled. That might allow a little bit of space, particularly in the second half, for Chelsea to come back into the game.
And defensively, look, Sven Botman hasn't played a huge amount of football of late. He comes in really at the deep end today as well, against a kind of, very energetic Chelsea forward line as well.
Yeah, sometimes as a centre-half, experience is everything. I played with some very experienced, quite old centre-halves back in their day. You don't need to run. If you're intelligent and you put yourself in the right positions, you don't need to run. You don't get caught out. You don't need to make sliding tackles. You cover the danger long before you've seen it. And Sven Botman and Shah, they're very, very experienced. That's what they've got to do today. Not get caught out. Not turn it into a race with the likes of Nicholas Jackson. That's not, that's just daft. It's something you're not going to win. You negate that by playing clever.
And that's what they're going to have to do. A quick prediction from you, Danny Mills. How do you see this one going?
If Newcastle start well, I think they win the game 3-1. I think Chelsea might struggle to get into it. I think Newcastle here at home, with a crowd behind them early on, if they get a goal up, I think they'll go on and win the game quite comfortably.
Well, do you know what? Thank you very much, Danny. There is so much on the line for this game. It's coming up for you in a couple of minutes exactly. Actually, kick-off, as I say, at this very unusual time on a Sunday lunchtime. And it's all about a place in Europe, because English teams have been so dominant on the continent this season, haven't they? And they are set to rule the Champions League roost next season as well, because of those 5 places that are up for grabs. 7 teams are in the mix for the 4 remaining places. Well, Eddie Howe, we talked about him, didn't we? He's a hero on Tyneside. He's won 7 of his meetings with Chelsea as a manager. In fact, he's won all 3 at St James's Park since taking over on Tyneside. So after guiding his side to glory in the Cup, can he mastermind a victory and put his side on course for what would be possibly one of their best seasons ever? Well, Chelsea are a bit of a form team at the moment. 3 wins in a row, but terrible record on the road at the moment. They've won once in their last 9 away from home. And of course, St James's Park, what a fortress, and you can hear the noise there. Now, a place in the Conference League final is to come for Chelsea. They are on the brink of a superb season of their own, so it really is all to play for at St James's Park. A raucous atmosphere, a rousing reception. I wonder which way it's going to go. Let's find out in the company of the former Leeds and Manchester City defender Danny Mills and Talksport's chief football commentator Sam Matterface.
Well, Reshmin, away to my right-hand side, I think I saw the best banner I've seen all season. BMX for sale, 42 quid or nearest offer, and then the phone number. wonder where the ride that the Newcastle fans have been on this season will take them. With victory in Europe guaranteed, 6 Premier League teams will play Champions League football for the first time next season. Newcastle and Chelsea want to be one of them, and after yesterday's twists and turns, the race couldn't be tighter. City's failure to win means third is up for grabs. Aston Villa have joined these two on 63 points, and should one of Newcastle or Chelsea fall to this lunchtime, then Nottingham Forest can jump above them this afternoon when they face Leicester on the Sunday session with Adrian Durham. The margin for error is slim. St James's Park is decorated black and white. The noise is its usual heady mix of expectation and hope. They have had a recent taste of the Champions League and were only denied last season from reaching Europe again by Manchester United's FA Cup triumph. They know that they will be back in Europe in some guise next season, but in which competition? Chelsea are in a European final already, but their young side want to return to the big boy league. They can only do that if they secure a place in the top 5, and that is in the balance. Danny Mills is alongside us as we get off and underway. Chelsea in blue shirts, blue shorts and white socks, attacking the Gallagher end away to our right in the first half. Newcastle United all in their usual decked out colours of black and white stripes, and immediately my first inkling is to notice that there is a shift in the back 4, and it looks like actually that Fabian Schär is playing right back and that Livramento is playing left back. We'll keep an eye on that in the opening exchanges, but there is a disputed corner that has been awarded early on. Danny Mills.
Yeah, a little bit surprised at that. You know, you're sort of changing 2 positions, aren't you, and sort of weakening 2 areas really rather than just the one. So we'll see how that plays out, but Chelsea have a corner, a great opportunity to put Newcastle under pressure. A little bit of shenanigans going on in the box, a bit of pushing and shoving.
Referee today is John Brooks. He is our referee and is just having a quick word with both Jackson and Dan Byrne, who's celebrated his 33rd birthday this week. Did a rather intriguing Instagram post of him blowing out the candle. Didn't take very long. Here is Enzo Fernandez's corner, in towards the near post, flicked away by Murphy, then hoiked back in by Palmer, headed into the air by Botman, and then received by Nick Pope, who comes out towards the edge of his 6-yard box and clears. And Pope is the goalkeeper. It is a back 4 of Schär at right back, Botman and then Byrne at left back, Byrne at centre half alongside Livramento at left back. Gordon goes down the left hand side. He's been played in by Livramento. He goes down under pressure. Referee says play on. Comes back to the edge of the area and it's worked wide for Murphy. Murphy into the box. Bruno Guimaraes is there, but Tonali taps it in at the far post, and inside the first 2 minutes Newcastle United are in front of St James's Park, and that could be a massive boon as they attempt to reach the Champions League. Sandro Tonali with the goal, only his 6th of the season, and he puts Newcastle United into a super starting position. Danny Mills.
What a start from Newcastle United, and it all starts exactly what I said. When they win the ball back in transition, they look to put the ball in behind the Chelsea defence as soon as they possibly can with a bit of quality. It was just lifted over the top of Caicedo into the space. Anthony Gordon is chasing down, cuts into the area, is looking for a penalty. He sort of tries to step across Caicedo, who actually defends very, very well. And as the ball comes back out, Tonali wins it back on the edge of the box. As the ball played wide, I think initially it's meant to be played into Bruno Guimaraes, who it's too hard for him. It goes under his foot, goes out wide to Jacob Murphy, who slides the ball across the 6-yard box. Nobody picks up Tonali, nobody picks the runner, and he's got a simple tap in at the far post. But that is exactly what Newcastle do. They start on the front foot, transition they are brilliant at, and that's exactly what they've done.
There was a brief moment where the crowd were told they were checking for a possible
Never
offside.
in a million years.
We've watched it 3 times. There's absolutely no chance of that, and it was not even under consideration, I don't think.
Wasn't like the playoffs last night.
Don't bring that up. 1-0 and he was definitely onside. He was onside by quite some distance. It's Talksport. It is Newcastle United 1, Chelsea 0, and an early setback for Enzo Maresca, who's sitting down in front of us in a salmon pink Chelsea sweatshirt, his bald head visible in the sunlight here, shining in the sunlight here. It's beautiful blue sky overhead. I was about to run through the starting 11s for you, but Newcastle scored before we had a chance. Pope is the goalkeeper. It is Cher at right back, Botman, Byrne, and then Livramento at left back. In midfield, Guimaraes and Tonali. Gordon playing out on this left-hand side. It's Barnes who's playing as the 10, in behind the slender figure of Isaac, and Murphy out on the right-hand side. Barnes is down, having been clattered. Chelsea get the ball up over the halfway line and into the Newcastle half of the field. Barnes is getting to his feet, but Cher has put the ball out of play, and it is out for a... It might be, you know, that they're playing with wing-backs here, Newcastle United, with Livramento as the left wing-back and Murphy as the right wing-back, and almost three centre-halves, Dan.
Yeah, maybe. I still think we'll see how it settles down. Obviously, it's a little bit too quick to see what's happening so far. But you know what I find difficult, Sam? How many times do I talk about, in the build-up to this, what Newcastle did against Liverpool, what Newcastle did against Palace, what Newcastle do every single week in transition, let's get in behind. I've seen them play 4 or 5 times, and I know what Newcastle are going to do. What's Enzo Maresca and his staff? What are they watching? What's he telling the players? Should he not be saying to the players, look out for this? This is what Newcastle do, because they clearly weren't ready for it. I just find that lack of diligence.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's watched Newcastle United knows how they start here, and their record against other teams that are in and around them in the table, fighting for those European positions, has been particularly impressive. Barnes getting some treatment, having brought the ball out of the sky, and then a tackle from Chalobah, which was a little bit late on his ankle. He's still receiving treatment away to our left-hand side, and there is a bit of a delay. Only 4 points separate Manchester City in third, and Nottingham Forest in 7th, so every opportunity has to be grasped. Every point drop could be fatal in a smash and grab to try and get into the Champions League, and Chelsea already under the cosh inside 2 minutes. They'd had a chance at the other end with a corner that they forced in the first few seconds, only for Newcastle to break away very quickly on the counter-attack, with Gordon down the left-hand side causing problems for Caicedo. The ball going back to the other side, Murphy whipping it in. It missed Bruno Guimaraes, and Tonali was there to tuck it home. And it's 1-0 to Newcastle United, live on Talksport, later the Sunday session, piloted by Adrian Durham today. 4 Premier League games taking place this afternoon once we're finished here at St James's Park. Manchester United, Forest, Spurs and Liverpool all at home. The playoffs continue too. We'll keep you in touch with that. The FA Vase final, Ian Abrahams is there. We'll make sure that you get all the information you need in that regard as well. And remember, we've got all 4 of the big European finals this summer live on Talksport. The Europa League final, the Women's Champions League final, the Conference League final and the Champions League final between Inter and PSG as well. Here's Livramento picking the ball up left side of the defence, moving it infield and giving it to Cher. Cher pings it out to the right-hand side, and Murphy chasing it just a little bit too high for him. It evades him and bounces out in the left full-back position for a throw into Cucurella. Cucurella has it and nudges it back to Colwell. Colwell in a Chelsea team that are unchanged from the victory over Liverpool a week ago, and it's all the way back to Robert Sanchez in the Chelsea goal. It was a fast start. That fast start has been punctuated by the injury to Barnes, who's back on the field now.
I think you're right though, Sam. It looks like it's wing-backs. You know, it's 3 at the back. Big, tall, strong centre-halves, the 3 of them. Livramento on this left-hand side. Jacob Murphy has got bundled with energy down that right-hand side. But I've just noticed what that has allowed Newcastle to do on a couple of occasions. One of the... Oh, that's a foul.
Caicedo coming in from behind us. Gordon picked the ball up in the midfield area inside the Newcastle United half. It was very deep. He picked the ball up on this near touchline and then was clattered from behind by Caicedo.
Pat Nevin did tell me before the game he is guaranteed to get booked. He almost got booked then, didn't he? But just going back to that, what it's allowed the centre-halves to do is one of them will go very, very tight and follow Cole Palmer into that deep midfield area wherever he goes. And maybe that's part of Eddie Howe's thinking. How do you stop the threat of Cole Palmer when he just basically has a free roll and goes wherever he wants?
Do you know what they did? They did exactly that against Arsenal with Declan Rice. They got Cher to follow him all over the park, and in fact the second Newcastle goal came when Rice dropped a little bit deeper, but still Cher followed him all the way to his edge of his own penalty area, won the ball, turned it over, and then they scored from the high pressure.
And I love Eddie Howe for that. You know, he's happy to go, okay, you've got some really good players, I'm going to change my system. There's not this arrogance that we are just going to play one way, no matter what, no matter who the opposition. He mixes it up, he changes it around. You know, I think that's what you call top quality coaching. That's a foul as well.
Goes in behind on Isaac, but Livramento's picked up the loose ball. Isaac is recovering. The play continues with Barnes down the right-hand side of the referee. Play the advantage. The strike from Barnes is blocked by Colwell. It spills out to the left-hand side. As far as Chelsea look at it, in the right-wing position, Newcastle United will have a throw. We played 10 minutes. It's Newcastle United 1, Chelsea 0. Isaac is back on his feet and joining the attack. Barnes about to take the throw in down the side of the penalty area, away to our right. He's going to leave it for Murphy now.
Referee should have had a word with him there, because he knows exactly what he's doing on Isaac. He comes through the back of him, barges into him, you know, using his shoulder. Okay, the referee played the advantage, but I think he should go to the player and say, look, do that again and you're going in the book, because that was blatantly intentional.
1-0 to Newcastle United. Tonali after just 2 minutes. Ball thrown in towards Barnes, who's brushed off the ball again. Picked up by Chalobah. Barnes has won it back. He's got it far side. Gives it to Bruno Guimaraes and then on to Murphy. Murphy threatens the cross, then sends it wide for Barnes. Barnes now trying to curl left-footed in towards the near post. On the edge of the 6-yard box, is headed away by Colwell. Retrieved again by Newcastle, and the pressure continues over on the far side. Murphy's got it now, midway inside Chelsea territory. Right-hand side, a ball into the box, steered away by Colwell, and then cleared, but only as far as Byrne, who's immediately harassed by Neto, but he wins that physical duel. It's like little and large. Here's Livramento out to the left side now, and Gordon, who goes beyond Neto, a chance to pull it infield. It's Livramento now in space inside the box. He's got loads of time to tinker his way through. Comes back out to Tonali, back in by Byrne, flicked on by Livramento. Gordon trying to keep it alive. Chelsea cannot get it clear, and eventually Lavia outmuscles Gordon and just smacks it over the halfway line and to relative safety.
Surely Livramento's got to shoot. He came inside, sort of, you're thinking shoot, then he went inside again, and then again, pull the trigger, man, just blast one goalward. So many bodies, get a deflection, anything can happen.
Murphy picks it up far side the right. This is a strong start by Newcastle. Lovely cross into the near post, and Sanchez has to come out very quickly and smartly in front of Barnes to stop him from tapping home. Cole Palmer, first real touch of the game for him, takes it out towards the near touchline, waits for a touch in the back and goes down softly, and it's a free kick in the right full-back position. But it's Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0, Tonali after 2 minutes, and Newcastle have made a really good start to the game, Dan.
Fast start, they always do it, they've been brilliant. As I said, the Liverpool game I watched here only managed to do it for 45 minutes. For Palace, they did it for 90 plus. They were exceptional. But just there you see Tonali going after Cole Palmer, who's deep in his own half, 5-10 yards outside his own box. He's all over him like a rash, giving him no space or time. I think Cole Palmer's a little bit fortunate. There was a touch on his back and he went down very, very easily. The referee bought that one. But this is what Newcastle do. I don't like to say they're a little bit old school. They're just very good at what they do. They press high, they're organised. They play as a team.
Tactically flexible.
Yeah.
And they've approached this game in a way that has just outfoxed Enzo Maresca. And one of the problems that Enzo Maresca has had this season is when teams change their tactics against him and he's not ready for it, he doesn't really alter it until it's too late. Here's Isaac down the right-hand side, on to Barnes. Barnes with the cross to the far post. Caicedo away. It's chested down by Bruno Guimaraes, and he gets the volley away as well. And that, again, was another situation which Chelsea should have managed. As the ball came into the box there was far too much time as it eventually broke to Bruno Guimaraes, just inside the area, to chest it down and get the volley away.
3 players around him. How can he chest the ball down 16 yards from goal and get a shot away?
You're listening to Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0 on Talksport with Sky Sports, and don't forget that you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Nottingham Forest versus Leicester and Liverpool versus Arsenal, live today. Search Now Sports. And it's been a really good start to the game. The atmosphere was terrific before the match, and this does have the chance to be the best season in living memory for Newcastle United, and they will play European football no matter what.
It already is, Sam.
Victory earlier in the campaign, but the prospect of rekindling their relationship with the Champions League, I think, is a tantalising one as well. for Newcastle and their supporters. Chalobah onto Lavia. Lavia,
What's the booze for, Sam?
Chelsea having a bit of possession for the first time in the game, I think.
But that's quite vociferous booing, isn't it? Just because they've got possession.
Neto on the right-hand side. Tucks it back infield to Chalobah. Chalobah to Colwell. The Newcastle crowd trying to play their part. Lavia takes it forward. Ambles into the midfield position inside the Newcastle half. Goes wide to the left. And Lavia, who was the man who was so integral to the victory over Liverpool last week alongside Caicedo, who steps in from right back and is in a midfield position now. And Chelsea lose the ball over on the far side because of the pressure applied by Murphy, and they go all the way back to their goalkeeper on the edge of his penalty area away to our left-hand side. Newcastle have won the last 5 Premier League games at St James's Park. Weren't at their best at Brighton, where they missed the physicality of Joel Linton. That might have precipitated the change in system. Chelsea have benefited from Lavia's return from injury, and as I mentioned, that Caicedo inverted position where he comes in from right back. I don't know what that means for Reece James, who's sitting on the bench again today. Bruno Guimaraes beats Lavia to the ball, gives it to Barnes, who's got room to manoeuvre in. There's space for him, and out wide for Murphy, who joins now, gets to the edge of the area. He gets a low shot in towards the near post, which is blocked by Cucurella, and it rebounds out to the far side and out for a throw-in. It's 1-0.
Lavia's annoyed with himself. That's the second time he's been caught in possession. It was him that got caught in possession for the goal on the edge of the box, and just there he was robbed. And when you get robbed playing against Newcastle, they are at you very, very quickly. They swarm all over you. 4 or 5 players sprinting forward to put pressure on the opposition. I mean, it's a very, very good start from Newcastle. Pope's had absolutely nothing to do, has he, so far?
That's the old Pope. The new Pope's gave a first Sunday Mass today. Here is Gordon.
He's a bit busier.
Back to Byrne. Byrne all the way back to Botman, who finds Cher out on the far side, and Newcastle have possession deep inside their own half. Lovely little body swerve from Murphy, comes infield, gives it to Isak, back out wide to Barnes, and then it's Isak who's trying to charge past Chalobah, who got fortunate with the bounce of the ball actually, because Isak almost ran ahead of it. It went and span back over the Swede, and Chalobah was able to clear.
You're right about Chelsea struggling with the formation. They can't get to grips with the wing-backs. We just saw it there. The ball went out to Jacob Murphy on the right-hand side, quite deep. Cucurella had to run 30-40 yards. It's too late by the time he gets there. Murphy can come inside, and then there's a massive hole in that left-back spot that Cucurella has left, and that's where Newcastle are looking to pounce.
And Cher has pounced and picked the ball up off the goal kick, giving it to Isak, edge of the area. Might come out to Bruno Guimaraes, back to Isak inside the box, right-hand side again. He tries to turn it back out to Barnes. Barnes with a chance to cross, instead gives it back to Isak. Isak into the area, plays a 1-2 with Bruno Guimaraes. Across comes Cucurella and nudges it out over on the far side. It's a really inventive system, because what's happening is that at times the wing-backs are coming narrow, so they're coming deeper to follow Madueke and Neto, and therefore that means that there's not much for the centre-halves to do, so 2 of them step into midfield and create an overload. Here is Neto playing the ball forward for Chelsea, a chance to attack for Nicholas Jackson. He immediately runs wide, then goes into the box, gets to the byline, tries to produce a cross, it's too heavy, comes out the other side, and Gordon will pick it up, and Newcastle United will get out. It remains 1-0 to Newcastle United.
I know Alexander Isak will probably get player of the season for Newcastle, but it has to be, Jacob Murphy has to be up there. He just sprinted back 60 yards to put Jackson under pressure.
And they play brilliant, intricate football to play out from the back and get up the pitch, and then Enzo Fernandez drags down Bruno Guimaraes. Free kick given, the noise goes up another couple of notches. John Brooks wants to go back and find out what's happened to Sven Botman, who's down. Whenever he's down, there's a few gulps from the Newcastle United bench.
It was a late challenge, Sam, wasn't it? He just got caught late on the edge of his own box.
And he's back up on his feet again, which is good news.
But this type of football, and I will eulogise about Newcastle, because this type of football doesn't happen easily. This happens with consistent, constant work on the training ground, working on formations, working on fitness, training in the right way, making sure that all the players are prepared meticulously.
And they will quite happily take on new information and adjust when needed.
Exactly. They're like you said, they are tactically flexible, which is brilliant to see.
Tonali in towards the far post. Botman heads it down, comes to Isak, who hits it into the ground, didn't strike it cleanly from the free kick, which was wide on the right, went delivered towards the far edge of the penalty area. Botman rose highest and then managed to head it back across the face of goal. Poor kick out by Sanchez. And he's given the ball away twice when he's tried to go long. Bruno Guimaraes tries to play it inside for Gordon to make a dart from the left channel, but it was cut out by Caicedo and Chalobah, and Chelsea managed to get it clear. We've played just a little over 19 minutes. You're listening to Talksport. We're live here at St James's Park on a busy day of Premier League action, and Adrian will take you around the grounds on the Sunday session from just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. Remember, we've got a massive week of action. In fact, a massive week of everything. We've got James Haskell talking Lions with White Jordan and Keown tomorrow between 10 and 1. Jimmy Anderson in with Coisty and Gabby on Tuesday. And Gilberto Silva with me, Crook and Troy Deeney on Friday.
What a nice guy he is, by the way, Sam.
Which one?
Gilberto Silva.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Alex Crook there for a second. Here is Jackson playing it out towards the left-hand side. Madueke getting down the side of the penalty area. Lovely cross towards the middle of the 6-yard box. It's headed down, comes back to the edge of the box. Palmer unleashes a shot, not once but twice, takes a deflection and goes behind. Well, that was a little bit dangerous the first time Chelsea have looked as such.
A couple of snapshots from the edge of the box by Cole Palmer. Never really caught hold of either of them. First one quite comfortably blocked. Second one I think was probably going wide before it got deflected anyway.
Quick corner taken by Enzo Fernandez into Palmer, who's right side of the box, and then flicked in by Caicedo. Pope comes out, clatches it, and it will be cleared away by Newcastle United. There is playoff action today, by the way, on Talksport 2. Really important, massive games in the playoffs. They're all on Talksport. We've got Chesterfield-Walsall at 3:30, League 2 playoff semi-final, and later on today, Wycombe versus Charlton, League 1 playoff semi-final first leg. That's on Talksport 2, and that's important for my fantasy team. Here is Barnes trying to get to the edge of the box, but Sanchez has come out and cleared. I was leading the Talksport EFL Fantasy League up until last night. I'm now third behind Courtney Sweeten-Kirk and Hugh Wozencroft. Monday night, Sheffield United against Bristol City. What a game that should be. Bristol City have got to come back from a major deficit. And Tuesday night, Sunderland Coventry, that late mistake right at the end of the first leg, costing Coventry dear. They've now got to go to Stadium of Light and try and reverse that. Coventry trailing by 2-1 after playing a really good first leg, actually. Here is Caicedo coming in from right back into midfield. He's wandered into a central area, unengaged by any Newcastle jersey. He then plays it out towards the right where Palmer was waiting for it. They're on the halfway line here, Chelsea. Lavia striding forward, centre circle, nudges it to Cucurella. 1-0 to Newcastle United. And Chelsea still trying to just get to grips with the system, because now they've retreated and Chelsea have got the ball. Newcastle almost in a 5-4-1 formation, blocking up both channels with Barnes and Gordon just coming infield slightly to help out Murphy and Livramento. There's no real room for Chelsea to play. Here is Chalobah, infield to Caicedo, back out of Chalobah again. Chalobah back to halfway, collected by Colwell, and then it goes out to Cucurella over on the far side, and he has to go all the way back to his goalkeeper.
I think the difference is, Sam, between these two teams at the moment, and probably a lot of teams in Newcastle, Newcastle have a very definitive way of playing. They all know what they're supposed to do and when. Attacking wise, you know what you're going to get. They're going to be very, very quick in transition.
The pressure on Lavia has caused him to be robbed. He's got away with it again because Bruno Guimaraes is saying, I didn't make a foul. And actually Lavia knows that was a problem, because he's turned round and he's absolutely rollicked Robert Sanchez.
Well, that's 3 times he's been caught on the ball. So Newcastle have clearly identified that as maybe a weakness. But do you understand what I mean? When Chelsea get it, it's like they get it and they're just waiting for something to happen. And there's no...
Jackson trying to go around the outside of...
There's no specific build-up play. There's no pattern to how they're going to get in behind Newcastle, how they're going to break them down.
Chelsea have got a very prescribed way of playing, and I think that's been the problem over the course of the season, and why fans have raised their eyebrow. The problem is when they come up against something unexpected, I think they sort of struggle to try and work out those problems in game, and it takes a little bit of time for them to do so. And they are quite slow and thoughtful and methodical in the build-up. The best game they played recently was against Liverpool, when Liverpool were on top of them, especially in the second half, and they could counter-attack. Ball in towards the near post from the corner, which was given in favour of Chelsea. Neto tries to get it in towards that near post area. It's put straight behind by Murphy.
But it's a bit like they're just waiting for Cole Palmer to do something. It's like, we'll just keep the ball nicely, we'll pass it around, and we'll get it into Cole Palmer or somebody like that, and they'll do something special. You know, in all that, Newcastle don't have too many special players, but they play as a team.
Here's the corner over on the far side. It's away by Neto and curling away from the goal, headed by Botman, strong and firm, comes out to Caicedo, who strikes it, misses the target. He claims that it came off a Newcastle player. It didn't. It goes out for a goal kick away to our right-hand side, and it remains Newcastle United 1, Chelsea 0, live on Talksport this lunchtime on a Sunday, a strange Sunday kickoff for us. We don't usually have too many of these, but when they do fall to midday, it does come to us here on Talksport, and we're delighted that this game is, because it's an absolute belter, and it may be decisive in the race for the Champions League. And if Chelsea are going to challenge next season, then their player of the year, Moises Caicedo, I think is going to be really important, and Lavia too. But he's struggled a little bit in the early exchanges here, getting on the ball, because Newcastle have targeted him whenever the ball has been played to him. Away by Sanchez, up to halfway, flicked on by Cole Palmer, but retrieved by Byrne. Byrne pummels it back down the throat of Cucurella. Enzo Maresca wants them to be more patient with their football here. He's just saying calm down, but Newcastle, I think, have put it in, the fear of got into the minds of Chelsea, and they just want to get it up the pitch quickly, and they're almost rushing those clearances, which are causing issues.
Now, I had the debate with Sean Custis earlier about entertainment. Newcastle are entertaining, but they're not going out there to be entertained. They're because they work incredibly hard. They play decent football. Eddie Howe's changed the system to win this football match and to find the weaknesses in Chelsea, and that's working, at the moment. The entertainment part becomes, because you can tell they're enjoying their football, they're good players, but it's the work rate. I think if you ask any Newcastle fan, what defines them, it's every player gives 100%.
Intensity, drive, enthusiasm for the project, and there is entertainment, Dan. I mean, they have scored 33 goals.
But that's a byproduct of how they play.
Here on the right-hand side, Cher bursting into the box, trying to find Harvey Barnes. It's cleared away by Chalobah, comes back via Murphy. Murphy slaloms his way forward. He gets all the way through. Barnes continues, edge of the area. Barnes with a shot. It's saved low by Sanchez. But there's two situations there which could never allow to happen if you're Chelsea. Murphy has wandered past four players. He's given it to Barnes, and he's just almost looked like a ghost. He's gone through a blue brick wall.
Chelsea don't want to tackle. Whereas you look at Newcastle, they're actually quite a physical team as well.
Yeah,
they're all prepared to put their foot in. They're all prepared to take a booking if they, mistime a challenge. But they're strong. They're aggressive in the tackle, not overly. And I just think this is why Newcastle have a great opportunity. If Eddie Howe can get some money to strengthen this squad even more in the Champions League, they can be a real threat.
I was about to say 33 goals in their last 11 games at home, Newcastle United. It's now 34 in 12. And they lead here by that solitary goal to nil. And they'll probably think as if they deserve a little bit more for their money so far. But Chelsea having the chance to respond now. Palmer into Lavia, back to Fernandes. Then Lavia tries to stretch the play, but he's going to evade Cucurella. It's mopped up by Madueke. He's playing out on the left-hand side today. Into Enzo Fernandez. Eddie Howe spins on his heels and goes back into the dugout after making a note on his little notepad, which he carries with him.
Just a little tweak from Newcastle. Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon have switched sides, just to cause the fullbacks even more problems, get them thinking yet again.
Caicedo in the Newcastle half. Newcastle retreating into a defensive shape. Palmer dropping deep to pick the ball up, then flicking it forward and trying to get it into the box from Madueke, who's running in from the left touchline. It was a good idea, didn't quite come off, and Pope gobbles it up and will clear away. It's currently Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. For the latest odds, you can head to Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Newcastle to win the game at 2-1 on. The draw is 3-1. Chelsea to come back and win the match 11-2. That's all thanks to Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on football accumulators or bet builders. This week, opt-in and previous deposit is required. Minimum odds and terms conditions apply. 18 plus. Be gambleaware.org. This is Talksport. One of the balls was just cleared out on this near touchline. Another one's been thrown into Livramento. Came up into the stand here. It's miles away from us, but our producer Izzy decided to cower as if it was coming near. It's not coming anywhere near you. Sunshine burning through the glass roof of the Melbourne stand that we're sitting in. Away to our left, the Chelsea fans high up in the Leeds' end. I think very disappointed with what their team have produced so far. They haven't tested Nick Pope as of yet.
What a ball.
That's a lovely ball out towards the near side, the left, looking for Gordon. It's a long raking ball which is going to be cut out by Caicedo. Gets it back to Sanchez. And then it's back out towards this near side, and Newcastle can build again. They're not afraid to do that either, are they, Danny? They will go long if necessary. They'll mix up the tactics, as we've already mentioned.
It's a great weapon. It's not just punting it forward for the sake of it. It's a diagonal pass over top of the fullback. If you don't quite get it right, the fullback is under pressure because he's facing his own goal. He's got a man up his backside. It's difficult. You know, he has to give a bobbly one back to the goalkeeper. This is what I like about Newcastle. You know, Eddie Howe's not been sucked into, we have to play tiki-taka. We have to keep possession just for the sake of keeping possession. They mix it up. They can play. Don't worry about that. They've got some very, very talented players, and we've seen the little 1-2s and intricate passes that they had. But when it's on, they switch it. They play to every single strength that they have got.
And they've played really well since Wembley. They've won 5 of their last 7 fixtures since their Wembley victory. Here is Isaac, who's been a big part of their form this season. Tries to play it into Gordon. Didn't quite get his pass right there. Did Alexander Isak. The ball's run loose and Chelsea have picked it up. There's a foul there by Cher, but it's come through to Palmer, and the referee's going to play the advantage. Palmer darting forward, tracked by Tonali, turns and runs through the centre circle and goes out the other side. Because of the way Newcastle are playing and the way they started the game, with Botman and Cher following Cole Palmer into midfield and even deeper, he's started to operate in a more deeper role.
He's got to play centre half, hasn't he, almost?
Yeah, he's had to sort of try and find room. Here he is flicking the ball into the centre. It's grabbed by Pope above the head of Jackson after a sort of ball from deep in left field that went high into the penalty area, and it was grabbed away. And he's had to do that, as I mentioned, because of the early tactics in the game. But also, when he's in those areas, he's less of a threat.
Well, he's not going to score. Simple physics. The further away the ball from the ball is from your goal, the safer you are. You know, simple as that. And if you've got a dangerous player like Cole Palmer 50 yards from goal, you take that all day long.
Lavia to Caicedo, back into Lavia again. He strides forward, he looks up. He's waiting for a gap to appear. Newcastle close ranks. They're so tight. The midfield quartet are almost within 15 yards of each other. He goes out wide now to Neto, but he's got Livramento to deal with, and then across comes Gordon, back into Caicedo. Lavia in midfield now. Again, that midfield quartet constricts and stands 15 yards in front of the 18-yard box. Out wide it goes to Cucurella. Cucurella onto Madueke, looking to go on the outside. He slips over. Murphy comes away with the ball. Madueke tries to commit a foul. Still Murphy's got hold of it and then pokes it through the middle and finds Barnes, and he careers forward, and out on the left-hand side Gordon is sprinting and it's aimed into him, and Gordon's got it now inside the area. It just drove him a little bit wide. Goes back into Barnes inside the box. He flicks it towards the far post, hoping that Isaac is going to make the run. He didn't quite, and the Swede turns around and applauds the effort of Barnes, and that was just an example of what Newcastle can produce when they sprint away.
And that's where they are so good on the transition. Within 2 or 3 passes, the edge of their own box, they're into the opposition's box, creating a chance. Okay, the final ball from Harvey Barnes, a little bit of a communication breakdown between him and Isaac, but that's what they do. That reminds me of Arsenal back in the day, you know, when it was Pires, Henry in that situation. Mark Overmars.
Nicholas Jackson has just got himself a yellow card for colliding with Sven Botman, and I just wonder whether he led with the elbow here. He had absolutely, oh my word, he has led with the elbow, and he's had absolutely no eyes for the ball, and VAR will look at this and he is going to be in massive trouble. I am going to be incredibly surprised if the VAR is not looking at this monitor right now, because Nicholas Jackson has gone up with his elbow out and he was looking at Sven Botman.
The only thing that might save me, he doesn't swing the elbow, he sort of runs into him with a forearm. You know, you know, you're talking semantics here. It's not like he's clenched his fist and really swung that elbow. He might get away with that.
I mean, they are checking for a serious foul play and a possible red card here. Now, I saw a game yesterday, Bournemouth and Aston Villa, where there could have been a red card on another day for Tyrone Mings. John Brooks is still going through the process with the VAR, who is Darren England, and I just wonder what the decision is going to be here, because if he comes to the monitor, you know what the answer is.
It's not glaringly obvious to me, Sam. I mean, if he'd have got a red, you could say okay.
Yeah, he saw it, so he gave a yellow card, so it has to be clear and obvious.
Yeah, I'd
error from the referee for it to be overturned.
In my opinion, there's not a big enough difference to make that a red card.
Okay, well, let's see. I mean, it's certainly on the borderline, isn't it?
Yeah, if he'd have got a red, I'd have said, OK, I can understand why.
He's going to get a red because he's going over to the monitor. John Brooks, the referee, been sent over to the monitor by Darren England. Cole Palmer knows already. He's flicked his hands out. He's come over towards the near side. John Brooks is going to review the footage on the monitor. He's going to see that the forehand, almost elbow of Nicholas Jackson, struck the side of Sven Botman's face. He's going to turn round. He's going to do the TB sign. He's going to produce a red card for Nicholas Jackson, and Chelsea are going to spend the rest of this first half and the rest of this game, which is so defining for them, with 10 men.
So what's the remit? Is that serious foul play?
Serious foul play.
Or is it violent conduct?
Serious foul play.
He runs into him with a forearm. I'm not convinced that's a red card. It's a foul, it's a yellow card, 100%. It's bordering on the line of orange. I don't think once he's given the yellow card, I don't think there's enough to give him a red card.
John Brooks comes up to Nicholas Jackson. He does the TV sign and produces a red card, much to the glee of the Newcastle United support. Nicholas Jackson is sent off, and Chelsea, already behind to a second-minute goal, are down to 10 players for the rest of the game.
It's a poor challenge. He's running at him. He's leading with his arm. He doesn't swing his arm. That would be the only mitigating factor that I think why he gets away with a yellow card and not a red.
It's a red card, Dan. I can't complain about it.
He runs it. No, I don't think he runs into him. If he'd have given a red straight away, I'd go okay. But when he goes to the monitor, there isn't enough to overturn that.
Sorry, yeah, I'm not debating that your methodology is correct. What I'm saying is that I don't think he's got too many complaints about the red card itself. Maybe the way they got to the red card might not be correct, but I do think that he ran the risk as soon as he was caught looking straight at the opposition player and had his arm outstretched and made contact with the side of the face. I thought he's always in trouble, and Rob Jones is just explaining that. And to be fair, Nicholas Jackson, although he did complain, he's not complaining very specifically. He's not going mad about it.
It's borderline. I get, it's one of those that probably sits in between. I just find it, once you've given that yellow card, and he came out of that very, very quickly, I don't think there's enough to overturn it.
It depends what the conversation was between the referee and the VAR, which we're not privy to. Ball delivered into the box as Newcastle look to press home their advantage. They lead by a goal to nil, and Chelsea now, after 36 minutes, are down to 10 players, and they've got it all to do. Tonali into the box. It's a deep one. In towards Burn with a header which curls away from the left-hand upright. He was so close to making that 2-0. Chelsea might have had their blushes spared by the offside flag that went up inside the penalty area, but that would have been tight. But it was a big, strong header which was curling towards the goal.
Oh, he was very, very unlucky. But I think he was just a fraction offside. He came back onside, dropped inside his man, headed it, and it was drifting with a little bit of spin towards that far corner, not quite enough. But as you say, wouldn't have counted. Linesman's flag was up.
Now let's get off to Wembley, the FA Vars final. It's non-league finals day. AFC Wheatleaf against Whitstable Town in the Vars final. Ian Abrahams.
Opening goal of the game has gone to Whyteleafe. It's Whitstable 0, Whyteleafe 1. Daniel Bennett rounding off a smart move with a decent finish from the left-hand side of the penalty area. Whitstable 0, Whyteleafe 1.
You're listening to Newcastle 1, Chelsea down to 10 players 0 on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Making a move. Planning a big clear out with vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, they've got a van.
Chelsea starting to lose their heads here, Sam.
Yeah, Romeo Lavia has just gone wiring into a tackle and it's been called over by John Brooks.
That's a booking. See, what I don't understand, it's a challenge from behind, he's barged into him, it should be a booking.
Yeah.
Zero consistency.
Well, Romeo Lavia walks away, having not been issued with a yellow card, but Enzo Maresca, who is right in the ear of Rob Jones, has picked one up.
Cop out. Absolute cop out from the referee, that. Giving a manager a yellow card is the easiest thing on the planet, isn't it?
Well, Enzo Maresca's only just got back from suspension. He's picked up a few. That's a lovely idea from Fabian Schär, and it's actually generated the opportunity for Livramento to mount an attack. Good tackle by Caicedo, exquisitely timed. Manages to bring it away for Chelsea on the edge of his own penalty area, then tucks it infield to Lavia, then on to Cucurella, who's over on the far touchline. It remains 1-0 to Newcastle, but they have a significant advantage now in the fact that they are playing a team with only 10 players. Chelsea have been in this situation before, and they have fought back in the game against Fulham recently from 1-0 down, which sort of sparked a bit of a turnaround for them, but this could be a defining day. Here is Madueke down the left-hand side into the area, looking for Neto. His strike blocked by Burn. Superb defending by Big Dan Burn. And Chelsea see an opportunity spurned, and Newcastle bring the ball forward with Livramento and then up to Gordon on halfway. Into Livramento again, being trapped by Palmer. Bruno Guimaraes wants it. Tonali's in midfield. There's spaces all over the pitch now for Newcastle to play in.
Chelsea have got too many passengers right now. You know, their work rate, their intensity, and compared to Newcastle, 15-20% less.
Here's Murphy down the right, cross into the box, over the top and away for a goal kick. The Premier League Match Centre on X has given us an explanation as to why the red card was given after a yellow card had been flashed by John Brooks, and he said VAR have checked the referee's call of a yellow card to Jackson and deemed that challenge by Jackson on Botman was serious foul play offence, therefore recommended an on-field review. The referee then upgraded the yellow to a red card. I mean, we kind of already know that, but I think the inference there is that what wasn't given was serious foul play in the first place. It had to be upgraded because it was more severe than the referee first thought.
That's the most wishy-washy statement I think I've ever heard. How to say a lot by saying nothing.
Don't look at me and say that. And producer Izzy being a little bit offensive there, Dan.
Wishy-washy.
We've got 5 minutes to go. I think she was suggesting that I might be able to do that. That's a bit out of order, I think.
You can do my wishy-washy if you want. It's called laundry, isn't it?
Burn out to Livramento. On to Gordon. Across comes Chalobah. Seizes the ball from Anthony Gordon. And then, remember, he's only making his first start since March, Anthony Gordon, since he was sent off here in a cup tie. Back to Enzo Fernandez. He's on the edge of the penalty, but the pressure from Newcastle so high. And struggling to get out, and Sanchez just steers it straight out of play with a poor kick, and his kicking has been very poor today.
But also Newcastle put him under pressure every single
absolutely.
time. He's at Gordon, Harvey Barnes, they all run at them, you know, and they put the goalkeeper under pressure, so he can't.
You have to expect that, don't
you? So he can't. Well, no, but not a lot of clubs don't. The ball goes back, they just stop and they just wait. This,
but as you said, they do it all the time.
Newcastle are sort of. It's not old-fashioned, it's just called hard work. It's simple as that. It's a very, very basic thing that Newcastle do. They're organised, they work incredibly hard.
Chelsea yet to have a shot on target in the game. 51% possession for Newcastle United, who are coming forward here, and Barnes has been released and he's got his shot away despite the attentions of Chalobah, who thought he'd done enough but hadn't. Barnes just wanted it more. He got the ball back from Bruno Guimaraes on the edge of the 6-yard box and then shot with a little deflection behind and out for a corner kick over on the far side. But there's a zip and intensity about Newcastle and a desire to get to the ball which just hasn't been apparent from Chelsea.
I think you just summed it up, Sam. You know, the whole game, Newcastle wanted it more. Simple as that. From the first moment, they have wanted this more than Chelsea have wanted it.
Corner kick far side, Barnes to take it. Chelsea defending here. Schär and Enzo Fernandez in a bit of a tussle. The ball breaks on the right-hand side after a short corner for Tonali. Bit of room now for Barnes to swing it in. His left-footed ball is in towards Byrne, unchallenged header, and he heads that down and straight into Sanchez. Eventually, across came Colwell to put a bit of pressure on him, but he was up higher, as you would expect, than anybody else, and it was, in the end, a bit of a tame effort.
He almost jumped too high, didn't he, and headed it down into the floor. That it took all the pace out of the header.
Madueke now picking it up left side for Chelsea, trying to get into the box, but it's a forlorn task, and he runs into a cul-de-sac, and then is running into Cher. Cher holds him off. The two have a bit of a discussion, and the ball is bowled out by Pope to Bruno Guimaraes, and Lavia goes to engage but can't. It's given back towards Murphy, then back out wide towards Bruno Guimaraes again, and then on to the right side where it's collected by Isaac. It remains 1-0 to Newcastle United. Chelsea having Jackson sent off, and the ball's been played to the edge of the penalty area. Of course, Jackson will now be suspended for that game against Manchester United.
Is that 2 or 3 games, Sam?
Well, it depends. It depends on what it goes down as. If it's serious foul play, I think it's just a 1-game ban. Violent contact is 3. He'll miss Chelsea Manchester United, which is live on Talksport Friday night, by the way. Here's Isaac inside the area. Little reverse pass into Guimaraes, but it didn't come off. It's cleared by Chalobah and out on the far side. How crucial will that game be now against Manchester United? Manchester United, of course, will be preparing by then for the Europa League final against Tottenham. Gordon on the left side in the final minute of the first half. It's 1-0. Here is Botman. Botman forward to Cher, back out towards the right-hand side. The 6 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. Isaac round the corner for Tonali, the goal scorer. Tonali by the byline, gets it back towards Isaac. Isaac inside the area, trying to dance his way past Chalobah. Almost did, and almost danced his way past Sanchez as well. It goes out. I think it should have been a corner, really.
What was Sanchez doing? He came out to tackle him with his feet. Surely just throw your body on it, and he can't go anywhere. It's a real strange decision by the goalkeeper.
I don't know what he was doing.
Newcastle now, and I said at the very, very beginning, if Newcastle start well and they keep up the intensity for 90 minutes, they win the game comfortably 3-1 in my view. I still think that's exactly the same. I think if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm thinking, right, how do I keep the players at this level with the extra man? Going down the slope will help slightly towards the Gallagate end, and what anybody says, I guarantee it is a slope. Chelsea, that slope's going to grow bigger and bigger in the second half as they get stuck in that area.
We're in a fortunate position for where we are. You can see how much of a slope
Trust
it is.
me, I've played on it. When you're camped in that penalty area, it's tough. I'd water the pitch galore at half-time to keep it slick and make sure Newcastle, can zip the ball around.
Neto taking the ball out of the sky, cutting in from the right wing, finding Madueke. Madueke onto Palmer. Chelsea without a striker now. Palmer trying to get round the back, plays it against the defender, thinks he's got a corner. He hasn't. It's going to be a goal kick away to our right. Yeah, well, they may well do that down at half-time. Water the pitch and make it even more slick than it already is.
Well, they've got to keep up the intensity because their intensity levels are so much greater than Chelsea. With the extra man, they can absolutely run them into the ground. If they sit back and pass it around too much at the back and stop doing what has made them very, very good in the first half, it allows possibly Chelsea to come back into it.
Newcastle have got a good record against Chelsea. They've won 7 of their last 11 Premier League home games against them. They've won the last 5 here at St James's Park, scoring 18 in the process, and they're in front here as we approach half-time. We're into the third of 6 added minutes at the end of the first half. It's Newcastle leading Chelsea by 1-0. Here is Botman onto Byrne. Byrne, the tall, powerful centre-half who scored in the cup final and has had such a significant season with his boyhood club. Clips it back to Botman and back into Byrne, who turns it round the corner into Isaac. And they're playing good football as well, Newcastle. When they are allowed to play, they play with a poise and a composure and a choreography that is apparent to everyone watching. Botman sends it long out towards the right-hand side. Doesn't quite reach its intended target, but the second ball won by Barnes. Barnes with pressure from Madueke. Madueke turns, shrugs and says, where was the engagement from behind? Nowhere. There was no help for him. Back to Tonali. Out wide, there's space for Murphy. Murphy runs towards the edge of the penalty area, slides it to Isaac. His first time shot is miscued. It goes through to Gordon, but he wasn't expecting it. Caicedo gets it away, and then Neto, who is really their only outlet, starts to charge forward down the right-hand side, gets into the penalty area, tries to produce a cross. It comes off Botman and goes out for a corner kick away to our right-hand side. This is Talksport.
Dan Burn was nearly exposed then. You know, he was chasing back. He clearly thought about pulling him back, Neto. He sort of put a hand on his shoulder, then let go. But Botman then got back really quickly and came across and snuffed it out. That's the only thing they've got to maybe protect against in the second half, that one-off counter-attack.
And here is the corner for Chelsea, who would love to get back into the game just before half-time and just dampen the enthusiasm of the Newcastle crowd, who will be feeling at the break that they're in a very strong position now. Enzo Fernandez's delivery, Chalobah with a header, and it goes into the air and is grabbed by Nick Pope and will be cleared away. There was a bit of space on this near side for Gordon. They hesitated to get it to him. Isaac has managed to twirl away with the ball, and now they do come forward.
But look at Newcastle. Look, last minute, 5 or 6 players streaming forward.
Cole Palmer just shrugs Gordon off the ball. He goes down. Palmer goes absolutely ballistic. He can't quite believe that a free kick has been given. And Cole Palmer is complaining to the referee. Chelsea very upset with the officials. Enzo Maresca is turning and asking for an explanation from the 4th official, who is Rob Jones.
Where's the foul?
Who's got the yellow card here?
Well, it could be anyone for complaining.
Yeah, because both Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer came over. And
who's captain? Is
Enzo Fernandez.
So he has the right. Maybe Cole Palmer's just pushed him away, so maybe it's Fernandez that's got booked.
Yeah. And Cole Palmer just asking for a bit more clarification.
It was a foul, though, wasn't it?
I think it is Enzo Fernandez who's been booked by the
Cole Palmer was never going to be able to chase Anthony Gordon back. You know, Anthony Gordon was going to do him for pace all day long. It's a foul, simple as that.
And the free kick is going to be taken from this wide left-hand side, and a chance to cross the ball in from Livramento.
Dan Burn, back post, back across goal.
Fernandez for dissent is the charge. Here is Livramento to Gordon. Gordon to Murphy. They've changed the angle to the other side. It's clipped in towards the far post, looking for Botman. Coming round the back was Livramento, kept it alive, and then Barnes forced again. Sanchez didn't gather that, and as he went to try and put his hands on the ball, Barnes was sneaking in, and again it's another example of not reacting quicker.
Yeah, Chelsea are still asleep. Early kickoffs got to them. They're still in bed at the moment. They haven't really got into this game at all in any way, shape or form. Newcastle have blitzed them from the beginning.
Such a difference from Chelsea, who had gone down, had suffered a bit of a downturn in form from Christmas, but looked a little bit more potent in recent weeks. They recorded the highest expected goals tally and non-penalty XG last week against Liverpool, the most anybody's done against them. But today's completely different. They didn't start particularly well. They were behind after 2 minutes, and now they've lost Nicholas Jackson after an elbow into the face of Sven Botman 10 minutes before half-time. If Newcastle United win this afternoon, they'll not only secure Champions League football, but they'll give themselves a golden chance to do so. It won't be certain, but it will be certainly on the cards. And just having a look over to the far side, again the referee getting a little bit of attention from Cole Palmer and Moises Caicedo. Trevor Chalobah went over there as well. Tosin Adarabioyo has gone over to engage with John Brooks, the referee. The Chelsea players clearly unhappy about the sending off and about some of the other things that have happened as well. Neto is going absolutely furious on this near touchline, talking to Cole Palmer.
Yeah, at Cole Palmer, for not doing enough. He's saying, you've got to come in and help us out and work a bit harder. And this is where Cole Palmer can become sometimes a bit of a luxury player. When you're down to 10 men, you need 9 outfield players that are working their socks off.
Well, Newcastle won't secure Champions League football, but they can give themselves a great chance of doing so if they win this, and they're winning at the break, and we've got an intriguing second half to come. At half-time, Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much, Sam Matafis. Yeah, there's only one team that's really up for it at the moment, and Danny Mills, you talked about. Chelsea look like they're sleeping. They're a goal down and a man down as well. It was interesting, wasn't it, what you said about the Premier League Match Centre's verdict on the overturning of that yellow card. They checked the referee's call of yellow card to Jackson, deemed the challenge by Jackson on Botman was serious foul play offence, therefore recommended an on-field review. The referee then upgraded the yellow to a red card, as you say. I mean, I kind of agree with what you said, that it could have been orange.
We all knew that.
Exactly.
We all knew what that statement meant.
Thanks for the new information.
Exactly. They didn't need to put that. There was nothing in there that told us anything at all. I mean, it's borderline for me. You know, I said the only mitigating services, normally when you go to do somebody with an elbow, you clench your fist and you swing the arm. He didn't do that. He ran into him with his forearm. You've done a bit of that in your time, haven't you, Darren?
100%,
and I've had quite a few given the other way as well, when my head's been rolling across the football pitch like a cartoon. You know, but he didn't do that. He ran into him with his forearm. Okay, I get it. He runs the risk. It's a borderline one. I don't see how that is. There's enough to overturn that. Once the referee was very, very close. He sees it. I don't see why VAR gets involved in that, because it's not clear. It's not a blatant red card. If he swings his arm and he takes his head off, I get it. But he doesn't. He runs into him with a forearm.
It was in the challenge, wasn't it? It was in the actual moment. So.
But that's now literally an uphill task for Chelsea, because they're going to be shooting uphill in the second half. It's going to be very, very difficult. If Newcastle can maintain their intensity, as they did against Crystal Palace when they were playing very, very well here, there'll be more goals than this for Newcastle.
Yeah, it does feel like that at the moment, unless Chelsea can really pull something out of the bag. They've got to do something, because there's so much on the line in this game.
I think Reece James is going to come on, Resh. He's just been called back in from the warm-up. Gusto as well, by the looks of it. So it's going to be a couple of changes, I would suggest, for Chelsea.
Tactical change as well, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that one pans out, because the second half is coming up after this. But at the moment, it is... full steam ahead for Newcastle. They scored in the second minute. Sandra Tonali with the early goal. 33 minutes later, for Chelsea went a man down. Nicholas Jackson sent off for a challenge on Sven Botman. It is an uphill struggle for this second half. So much on the line as well. Champions League football next season, a place in the top 5 is up for grabs, and either side could take a giant leap towards that. Let's see how the second half pans out. That's coming up next.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whether you're on holiday, at home or away this summer, Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that's just right for you.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Sipping a morning coffee out on the terrace. Good morning, Mr. Squirrel.
Morning.
The kids building a treehouse in the garden.
I'm living my perfect childhood.
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
The season is shaping up, and whether they're going for glory or going down, it's all to play for. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out goals. With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals. And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League Two, it has to be goals. Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
Screwfix Sprint delivers from store to door in as little as 20 minutes. So don't get stuck behind a sea of brake lights that grinds your day to a halt. Why waste your time when we can zip to you and you can stay on your job? Screwfix Sprint cuts through the congestion to get you what you need fast. More time working, less traffic frustration. Screwfix Sprint, delivering in as little as 20 minutes. Just $4.99 and only on the app. Conditions and geographical restrictions apply. Selected products.
The best seat in the house is no longer in the house. It's outside with the sound of birds chirping overhead. The best table isn't in the house either, or pillow, or outdoor lighting, or sun lounger. But you knew that already. Visit IKEA online or in store to level up your outdoors this summer. IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
The autopilot order. Noun, informal. The strong urge felt at the ordering kiosk or drive-thru that takes over the entire body and mind and results in a person ordering a Big Mac without even having to think. Related phrases. Looks like I've ordered a Big Mac again. The autopilot order at McDonald's. Served from 11 a.m, subject to availability.
And what a a season this has been for Village Hotels. They've got the quadruple. Stylish rooms, state-of-the-art gym, heated indoor pool, and the legendary Village Pub and Grill with its unbeatable lineup of food and drink. No wonder the fans are going wild for this champion of affordable breaks. Absolute class. Village Hotels, 33 winning locations across the UK, with everything under one roof. Book now at villagehotels.com.
At Betfair, we relish the plot twists that football's tense run-in delivers. With titles, promotions and relegations on the line, the form book can take a back seat and the drama has the power to rewrite scripts. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on Accas or Bet Builders on football this week. Betfair. Play different.
Opt-in and previous deposit required. Valid for 72 hours on Football Accas or Bet Builders. Min combined odds of 1.5. T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Sky Sports. Watch the Premier League run-in before the countdown begins to a huge new season, where Sky Sports have at least 215 live games, up from 128. Subscription required.
To the touchline, hard-hitting football coverage.
And he scored!
The Premier League, live on Talksport.
You are listening to Game Day Exclusive on Talksport with me, Reshmin Chowdhury. It's currently half-time between Newcastle and Chelsea. The score is 1-0. Chelsea are a man down and a goal down. Nicholas Jackson sent off after a clash with Sven Botman. Sandra Tonali with the goal for Newcastle after just 2 minutes. Now there's also a first half update between AFC Whiteleaf and Whitstable Town in the FA Vase final. Ian Abrams is watching the game for us. It was quite a goal and quite a celebration as well.
It certainly was, yes. Whitstable 0, Whiteleaf 1, 4 minutes to half-time. The goal scored on 16 minutes for Whiteleaf, and it was scored by Daniel Bennett. It was a really good move down the left-hand side. Little ball into the box for him, and he took really good control before then firing past the goalkeeper, and then off he set in celebration in front of a whole load of Whitstable fans behind the goal. Then he ran round to the Whiteleaf fans. Since then, one big chance for Whitstable. It was a header by Finn O'Mara from no more than 5 yards out that went over the top of the crossbar. Whitstable won't need to be egged on too much by their manager, Reshmin, because Jamie Coyle actually plays at centre-half for them. He's a player manager. He might have a few words to say at half-time that he hasn't already said on the pitch. 3 to the break here. It's Whitstable 0, Whiteleaf 1 in the final of the FA Vase.
Great stuff, Ian Abrams. Thank you very much. Now, you can tune in to Talksport Breakfast tomorrow. You can get all the reaction from this weekend's huge Premier League games as the race for the top 5 heats up. Of course, tomorrow, Super Ali McCoist will be joined by former Aston Villa striker Gabby Agbonlahor. Now, I'm sure he'll have plenty to say after Ollie Watkins broke his Villa goal-scoring record this weekend with his 75th Premier League goal. Now, and Watkins, this is great. He's actually got a message for Gabby.
Gabby, it's been a long time. You've held that record, but now it's time to pass it over to me. Let me have my moment. But yeah, unbelievable achievement, and yeah, I'm really pleased.
Oh, Gabby will be crying all of last night, still this morning. I hope he recovers in time for Talksport Breakfast tomorrow morning from 6. He'll be joined with Ali McCoist. Now, let's get the latest from Betfair, shall we? The official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on Football Accas or Bet Builders this week. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Sam Rossbottom, look, it was already quite a difficult one to call in some ways, but Newcastle did have that great home record. They got off to a great start, and it's all just been a little bit miserable for Chelsea, hasn't it?
Yeah, not great if you're a Chelsea fan watching this one. I mean, Newcastle were the pre-match favourites before kick-off, now a goal up, and Chelsea with a man down, they're into as short as 1-8
wow.
to secure all 3 points in this match. So Newcastle really fancied. Can Chelsea get something from this? The draw out
yeah,
to 13-2.
We need something, don't we, for Sam's bet?
Yeah, we certainly do, yeah. The draw currently 13-2, which is what we need. If Chelsea can, do the unthinkable and turn this one around, you can back that at 25-1 at the minute. But we do need the draw in this one, which I mentioned, gone out to 13-2. We also need Alexander Isak to score anytime. That's been odds boosted actually at half time. Was 6-4, now 7-4. If Chelsea are to get back into this one, then you'd think Cole Palmer would be key. him to score or assist in the second half now is boosted to 9-2. But yes, our charity bet builder, I'm not going to lie, it's looking a little bit tricky with us having the draw in there and Alexander Isak to score. But the good news is we did have Enzo Fernandez to be booked, which he duly obliged before half-time there. So we're 1 for 3. We just need Isak to score and the match to somehow end in a draw. If that does happen, then £969 will be going to the Bobby Moore Fund. So fingers crossed that can all happen in the second half.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. I've got a feeling it may not happen, but you never know. Stranger things have happened in football, but it is currently, of course, 1-0 to Newcastle United. Sam, thank you very much. That odds update is all thanks to Betfair. Returns accurate as of 10 minutes ago. For verification, see betfair.com. Over 18s only. Conditions apply, but do go to begambleaware.org.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on football hackers or bet builders this week. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Now it is a massive day in the Premier League. 5 matches coming up throughout the course of the day. 3 games kicking off at 2:15. Let's hear from the reporters who will be covering those games. And we've got team news from Nottingham Forest against Leicester City with Jeff Peters.
Yeah, good afternoon. Forest can move back into the Champions League places with a win today. They make one alteration from the draw at Palace. Murillo is injured. Morato replaces him, so it's Sells in goal. Aina, Milenkovic, Morato and Williams at the back. Sangare and Anderson in front. Dominguez, Gibbs-White and Elanga with Chris Wood up top. Already relegated Leicester beat bottom side Southampton last time out. Unchanged today, aside from the fit again Buenanotte replacing Golding on the bench. Stolarczyk in goal. Justin, Cody, Fass and Thomas. And Didi and Skip in front. McAteer, Ayew and El Khanous with departing talisman Jamie Vardy leading the line here at the City Ground.
Jeff Peters, thank you very much indeed. I'm sure Forest fans will be keeping a key eye on proceedings between Newcastle and Chelsea, of course. Nottingham Forest trying to edge back into those Champions League places, into the top 5, and with Chelsea with everything on the line here, with currently trailing Newcastle. Let's head over to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium now as Spurs face Crystal Palace. Not so much in it for these two. Alfie Reynolds has the teams.
Afternoon, Reshman. Well, as expected, Tottenham heavily rotate following their progression into the Europa League final. Son returns to their bench, and it's Vicario, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Basuma, Richarlison, Solanke and Johnson, the players making way. For Palace, it's 2 changes. Adam Wharton is injured. We expect him to be fit for the cup final. He makes way, as does Kamada, Lerma and Hughes, the players coming in. It's Tottenham against Crystal Palace.
Thank you very much, Alfie Reynolds. And now we can head to Matt Jones, who has the team news for Manchester United against West Ham.
Yeah, Man United ring the changes as Ruben Amorim said they may do following their Europa League success in midweek. 6 of them made in total. The highlights include Shaw returning, Mainu, Mount and Ahmad also start with Casemiro, Dorgu and Garnacho among the players to drop out. As for West Ham, a 1-1 draw with Spurs last time for them. 3 changes. Paqueta, Emerson and Fulkrug out. Soufal, Alvarez and Ward-Prowse in. It's Man United against West Ham.
Matt Jones, thank you very much indeed. So 5 Premier League games taking place throughout the day. The Sunday session with Adrian Durham, Mickey Gray and Perry Groves will be keeping you right up to date with all of those Premier League matches, as well as everything else taking place today once we are done here at 2 p.m. Now our focus is of course at St James's Park. It's Newcastle against Chelsea, a huge game in the race to secure a top 5 place. Both of these teams level on points in 4th and 5th respectively, but at the moment Chelsea are trailing the home side, and they are a man down as well. Nicholas Jackson sent off in that first half. Sandro Tonali giving Newcastle the lead after just 2 minutes. The teams are heading out, and it looks like there are some changes for Chelsea as expected. So I'll hand you back to our commentary team, Danny Mills alongside Sam Matterface.
Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0, and Reece James comes on for the start of the second half to replace Noni Madueke. So Chelsea with a bit of a tinkering going on. That means that James will go to right back. Colwell, Chalobah and Cucurella at the back 4. The midfield will be Neto, Caicedo, Lavia and Enzo Fernandez with Palmer as the point man. Newcastle unchanged from the first half, and they've got Pope in goal. Livramento is playing as the left wing back. The back 3, Botman, Scher and Byrne. The right wing back is Murphy. It's Guimaraes, Tonali in the centre with Gordon and Barnes wide of Isak in attack. Chelsea's performance in the first half down to a lack of intensity and intelligence to react once they realised that Newcastle had changed the formation. Who is that on? The players or the manager, Danny Mills?
Both. The manager sets the stall up. He should work on stuff all week, make the players very, very aware what the situation is, how Newcastle are going to play, how they're going to start, especially here at St James's Park. But the players have to go out and execute it. And when it's not working, things aren't going well, you have to change it. You have to make decisions on the pitch. You can't, if you're looking at the bench all the time to get direction and be told what to do, then you probably should be sat on the bench. Simple as that. I don't quite understand the change at half-time. I get bringing Reece James on, maybe as right back to shore the back four up a little bit.
Bit of leadership maybe as well. He's the captain of the club.
But they've taken off pace up front. You've now got no pace up front at all.
We've got,
Neto a little bit on the right-hand side, but Enzo Fernandez, no pace. He's not going to outrun anybody going forward. Cole Palmer's not going to outrun anybody. When you're up against it, you need an outlet. You need something to take the pressure off. Even if that's a hopeful ball in behind, get somebody with pace on that can put those Newcastle players under a little bit of pressure and try and get yourself up the park a little bit.
There's a collision of heads over on the far side. Livramento has gone down. He doesn't look particularly comfortable, and immediately the medical staff go rushing out to go and see him. He's gone down. There's a little bit of hush and a little bit of concern as well. He's holding his right knee too. Tino Livramento.
He's rolling around. Generally says he'd be okay. Might be a bit sore. When players tend to be moving around, writhing a little bit in agony, generally they tend to be okay. It's those ones they go down and they don't move. That's always the concern.
Newcastle black and white striped shirts, black shorts and black socks attacking the Gallowgate away to our right hand side. Chelsea in blue apart from their socks attacking the goal away to our left hand side. Privately, some of the Newcastle backroom staff referred to this game as the biggest league game of their season, which is understandable. So far they'll be pretty happy that they've restricted Chelsea to 0 shots on target. Newcastle have had 27 touches inside the opponent's penalty area. Chelsea have had 9. Chelsea have got to change that, because this is a big test for Enzo Maresca, isn't it? Because this is a crucial game as they look to try and hunt down a place in the top 5. We know that at this time of the season, any slip could be fatal. They can't afford not to try something, come up with something, conjure a way back into this game.
They've been about as sharp as a spoon so far this afternoon, haven't they? They've been really abject in their performance. The energy levels are low. They've not come out of traps. Newcastle have dominated from start to finish. If Newcastle's attitude is right in the second half and they keep up the intensity, they win the game comfortably. The only way Chelsea get back into this is if Newcastle throw it away.
Maybe they can get something special from Neto or from Cole Palmer that might drag them back into the game. Newcastle will be hoping that that isn't the case. And in fact, Newcastle might be a little bit disappointed they didn't take advantage of their dominance in that first half. It remains 1-0 to Newcastle United against Chelsea, live here at St James's Park. And Chalobah clips the ball forward into Caicedo, back to Palmer. Palmer does a little trick and then shoots from distance, but shooting from distance is pretty easy for Nick Pope to deal with. He just bends down, picks the ball up and then bowls it out to the far side. And Livramento, who has recovered, is back on to receive that pass. He's threaded it forward. Gordon running in behind. He's got
a penalty. That's a penalty.
James has just pushed him to the floor. The referee says no penalty. Gordon can't quite believe it. The Gallowgate is a little bit surprised as well. Was there any intention to play the ball?
No. It's a penalty. It's a soft push, but he pushed it in the back. He's never going to win the ball. He's nowhere near the ball. That's a foul. Anywhere else on the pitch, that has to be given as a foul.
And James might argue he just sort of lent into him. The VAR is not checking it, but they have given the ball away again. And James, physically stronger than Livramento, wins it back. And then there's a challenge in the middle of the Chelsea half, which is perpetrated by Dan Burn, which does go against the Newcastle United player, and that again is slightly received badly, but it's given away by Sanchez, who gives it straight to Murphy. Murphy down the right hand side, gets to the byline, low cross into the box. Barnes trying to turn, stopped by Colwill and cleared away. Won by Botman in midfield, goes to eat it up off of Palmer. It's collected by Caicedo, brushes past Botman, then gives it to Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea trying to come forward here, but Newcastle snapping back into shape. It's picked up by Palmer. Palmer looks to try and get it to the outside, and Cucurella made a run up the left flank, but he doesn't get there. He goes back to Lavia, and then it's out to the far side.
But again, it's that break in transition for Newcastle. Great ball out from Nick Pope, took out 7 or 8 Chelsea players with a long throw, ball played in behind, and potential penalty created by Newcastle. Very, very simple. Direct, sharp passing. Football's not that difficult.
Yeah, but the pattern of this game is going to be obvious now. Chelsea will try and get back into it because they have to. They've got no choice. Newcastle will sit in a lower block. They'll win the ball back and then they'll counter at rapid pace. Like this. Here is Gordon running down the left-hand side. Colwell goes across. He pushes Gordon off the ball. Gordon goes down. Referee says nothing doing. Livramento joins to support. Sanchez clears. This time he does find Caicedo, and they've got round the other side, Chelsea, and they've got 4 in the attack here. One of those is Neto. The ball forward to him by Caicedo is a little bit eager, and Byrne comes across and does brilliantly to win the challenge ahead of Neto, and then celebrates like it's a goal. The ball goes behind and away for a goal kick. You're listening to Chelsea 1, Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0 on Talksport with Sky Sports. Don't forget that you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Nottingham Forest versus Leicester and Liverpool versus Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports.
I was just going to say, Newcastle come out of the traps a little bit sluggish in this second half. Probably needed something like that. You can now hear the crowd. Again, direct ball in behind, a little bit too long for Isak. Sometimes, subconsciously, when you're coming out, you're 1-0 up, down the slope against 10 men, you just back off a little bit, you know, and you just think, oh, we'll just protect that lead. It's going to be a little bit easier. So, you know, it's not definitive, but it's a subconscious thing. We can just drop off the pace a little bit.
Neto over on the left produces a good cross into the box, headed away by Cher, out towards the near touchline, collected by Cucurella. Cucurella guides it back to Lavia. Lavia then to Chalobah. Chalobah across to Colwell, and Chelsea have possession up to the halfway line. Reece James infield. Lavia comes across and then moves out towards this left-hand side. That's a foul by Cher. Yellow card incoming. He was from behind on Enzo Fernandez.
And that's just the lack of consistency from the referees. There was 3 or 4 like that in the first half from Chelsea. Sven Botman makes 1, gets a yellow card. You know, a little bit harsh in my view. I think Eddie Howe might be thinking about making a change already. They haven't come out of the blocks as quick as he would have wanted. Chelsea have just had a bit too much possession, probably for his liking. So he's going to think, right, how can I change it up?
Here's Cucurella over on the left-hand side. Been so important for Chelsea going forward this season. His crosses the box was a good one, but there's no one there because Chelsea are down to 10 players, no Nicholas Jackson. And it's easily cleared, and it's a lovely touch by Isak, or, well, it should have been, but he didn't weight the pass correctly, and it goes into Barnes, who had to scurry a little bit further wide than he would have liked. That's a good challenge by Lavia this time on Bruno Guimaraes. Wins the ball back inside halfway, and then Graham Jones just a little bit upset that Newcastle have come off the pace a little bit, tries to get into them, and Chelsea have possession on the halfway line.
You know, there's always the thought process that it's a bit like job done. Yeah, go, look, no crystal ball needed.
Lewis Miley is about to come on in midfield. I think they might take off one of the attackers. It'll be Barnes or Gordon. To be honest with you, Gordon making his first start since March hasn't been as influential as Barnes has.
He's been lively though, and he's caused problems with his pace in behind.
It's probably a toss-up between the two, I think. Here is Chalobah, all the way back to his goalkeeper. Isak applies the pressure. On the left-hand side, Gordon just shuts off the route to Reece James, and not for the first time today, Rob Sanchez kicks out of play. Substitution for Newcastle United, and off comes Sven Botman.
We got that one wrong, didn't we?
Yeah. And on comes Lewis Miley. So I think what that means is
4-4-2.
Go back to the 4 at the back, and they'll bring Miley into midfield and go to a more traditional sort of Newcastle formation of playing the 3 in midfield with Guimaraes, Tonali and Miley, and then Murphy, Isak and Gordon going forward, or Barnes coming out to the right hand side and Murphy playing at right back might be more likely.
I mean, this could be dangerous down this right hand side now. You've got Jacob Murphy, bundles of energy, bundles of pace. Harvey Barnes down this right hand side, you know, double up, 2-on-1 on Cucurella.
Well, let's see. it's Eddie Howe who's reacted at the start of the second half. Chelsea's only change so far is James for Madueke. This is Murphy. Just don't really have that many attacking options on the bench, really. Sancho, one of those. And Tariq Georgiou is impressed in the Conference League. Here is Gordon trying to get round the back on the left-hand side, heads the ball away from James, and then James gets back at him just about, shrugs him off the ball, and it's cleared away by Chelsea. Up towards that left-hand side, Neto again beaten to it by Byrne, and well won by Dan Byrne, and then Caicedo crunches into Lavia, and Gordon wanted a foul there, wasn't going to get one. And then the ball runs loose and Chelsea bring it up through the middle of the pitch and out to the left-hand side for Cucurella, who scurries forward over the halfway line, moves down the left-hand side. Back in field it goes to Enzo Fernandez. Infield to Lavia once again. Then it's on to Caicedo. Newcastle snap back into shape and Fernandez has got it now. Bit of space wide on the left for Cucurella. Murphy goes out to engage. Cucurella's cross is grabbed by Pope rather easily. A high cross into the box, I'm afraid, is not going to do the job against Byrne and Cher and Nick Pope when your one attacker is Palmer and your supplementary attack is Pedro Neto.
I mean, what he's got to do there, he's got to drive that across the face of goal as hard as he possibly can, about a foot off the ground, hoping that maybe either one of his strikers gets a nick on it or one of the defenders panics a little bit, sticks a foot out, can divert it anywhere.
Murphy trying to bend it round the back for Isak. Isak is in here. Across comes Colwell. Colwell trying to deal with him, just about manages to do so, but gives away a corner in the process. And Newcastle get themselves in behind and win themselves a crucial set piece.
Again, it's that little ball in behind. Just play it in behind the defenders. Get them facing their own goal. It's the worst possible position as a defender, to be running back to your own goal with somebody chasing you down.
Corner kick near side to be taken by Tonali. It's got Byrne at the back post, Cher in there as well. Gordon's on the edge of the area and Murphy is just right of the D. And the corner is delivered towards the far post and Isak is unmarked, and I don't know how he got unmarked, but he managed to free himself at a 45-degree angle from goal, just 2 yards back from the edge of the six, and he tried to execute a volley, but he ended up getting it all wrong, and Chelsea were fortunate not to concede again.
Well, Dan Byrne was free at the far post, and he decided to leave it for Isak, who tried to sidewind a volley, just got underneath it a little bit and spun off the outside of his foot. But I think Newcastle are going to make another substitution. Very proactive from Eddie Howe.
Cucurella beats Murphy in the air, canters forward down the left-hand side. Murphy gets back at him, he comes infield. And it goes centrally to Caicedo and now on to Palmer. Palmer out to Neto. Neto back infield to Reece James. James held off by all of those in black and white. They've got to the edge of the box. Neto's trying to travel laterally to feed a shooting opportunity, but he has to give it to Lavia because he runs out of room. It goes back to the far side and now it's with Cole Palmer again. And then Chelsea with possession but not much penetration, trying to come forward once more. Lavia wide to James. Again, Newcastle sit in that block, making sure that there's no route forward. They've got the numerical advantage here, just about to get to the 60-minute mark. Eddie Howe knows how important this game is and is bellowing from the touchline. Straight on Barnes to pressurise Chalobah, who gets it back to his goalkeeper. His name rings around St James's Park here in the sunshine as the ball is played out to the far side. Caicedo just manages to go past Tonali and then bumps into Tonali unnecessarily so, plays a poor ball in field and gives it away.
That's a foul.
Why did he stop to do that, Danny?
He tried to elbow him.
But why? He was free of him. He'd done well.
Because he's an idiot. He's trying to be all macho and hard, and I've gone past you, and he checked his run blatantly to barge into him.
Enzo Fernandez has it left-hand side, on to Lavia. A couple of the Chelsea players just lost their heads today. Jackson's been sent off. Lavia's been caught on the ball. Here is Palmer, edge of the penalty area. He's had a rollicking off Pedro Neto at half-time for not offering enough. As Newcastle have given the ball away here, though, and Lavia has picked it up on the edge of the 18-yard box and sent it wide towards Neto. Neto with the cross. It bounces clear and it gets to halfway. Newcastle just a little bit deep here for the supporters' liking.
Yeah, they haven't started this second half well at all. They haven't got the same intensity. They haven't got themselves into this game in the second half. I mean, Eddie Howe will be really disappointed with that so far.
Brilliant front runners though, and Guimaraes picks it up halfway after Chelsea give it away, and Barnes comes forward. He's got Bruno Guimaraes waiting for it, edge of the area, gets it back to Barnes inside the box, across the 6-yard box, but it's not strong enough to beat Robert Sanchez. Isaac was lurking with intent on the edge of the 6. Out came Sanchez and bowls it out, and Chelsea get it up the field.
Great move, swift counter-attack yet again. Harvey Barnes, he just scuffed his shot, didn't he? Oh, sorry, scuffed his cross, just dug it into the ground a little bit. Great opportunity for Newcastle.
61 gone. Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. Chelsea get a goal. They come away for a point here. They'll be absolutely delighted, Danny.
Be over the moon.
Newcastle fans trying to roar their team to success. 1-0. It was a tight victory for Aston Villa yesterday, which really concertinaed those Champions League positions once again. Aston Villa have got 2 games against Manchester United and Tottenham either side of the Europa League final to finish their season. As Palmer comes forward, clips it out to Cucurella, who strikes. What a save down low to his left by Pope. It's a brilliant stop by the England goalkeeper, who drops to the floor, makes a brilliant save from Cucurella.
Yeah, it's a really good stop. Cucurella's got a bit of joy. Newcastle, just for some bizarre reason, all a little bit disjointed in this second half. Haven't got going in any way, shape or form. Haven't been direct, aren't the same sort of intensity and force they were in transition. Cucurella's getting really far forward on his left-hand side. He's got a bit of joy there. It's a good shot. It's a good save, but a save that I'd probably expect him to make.
Murphy playing at right back. It's just got sucked in a little bit too narrow, and that's allowing the room for Cucurella, and he's not getting enough help from Barnes, who's come out towards this near side, and it has meant that Cucurella has found himself in good position. And Cucurella has been a good outlet for Chelsea all season, as I mentioned slightly earlier. He has 6 goals this season for
You can't tell at the moment, Sam Kenny, that Chelsea are a man down. That's a big compliment to Chelsea, I would say.
Here is Reece James sending it forward. Murphy away. Barnes gets a little push in the back from Chalobah. That's going to be a free kick. They had to respond after that first 45 minutes, Danny. They had to try and find an extra gear. Whether they can maintain that now between this and the end of the match.
Next goal is absolutely crucial, isn't it? Newcastle get it. That's done and dusted. Game over.
It looks as if Jamal Lascelles is warming up on this near touchline, which is interesting.
Well, no, that wouldn't surprise me, because Jacob Murphy's a wing back, brilliant. As a right back, I'm not quite convinced.
And there's a lot of discussion between Murphy and Scher and Byrne about exactly what they're going to do. And in fact, it's Emil Kraft who's going to come on. And I wouldn't be surprised if they take off Jacob Murphy here and bring on Emil Kraft. Because
Harvey Barnes, perhaps?
Well, look at this from Eddie Howe. He's turning around to the 4th official saying, what's going on here?
Why has he booked him?
He's booked Jacob Murphy because he won't take the throw-in.
There's a sub.
But he won't take the throw-in because there's a substitution that was supposed to take place, but Rob Jones hadn't got the board ready.
I mean, referee, you are absolutely hopeless.
Cucurella just bundles into Barnes. Barnes goes down. The referee says play on, no foul. The Rangers lead against Aberdeen by 2 goals to 0.
Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, Anthony Gordon coming off. Cucurella is going over to intervene with Cole Palmer, who's talking himself into a bit of an issue. And we have another shift in formation from Newcastle United. Emil Kraft is on. Only came back in mid-January, but he has signed a new deal that takes him to 2026 because he's a good influence around the place and he's a very good utility player.
Yeah, so Barnes goes back to the left-hand side and Jacob Murphy pushes much further up the pitch. I think that's a good move from Eddie Howe.
Yeah. And I think as well, the other reason for that is that, as I mentioned beforehand, I think Barnes has been a little bit more effective than Gordon. And he has had a really good spell. 9 goals and 5 assists this season, all of them in the Premier League. 4 of those goals in the last 6 games. He scored home and away to Chelsea during his Leicester time, and he has been a threat today as well, Harvey Barnes.
And I also think, putting Jacob Murphy at right back, you're taking away a lot of what's good about his game.
Here is the throw-in from this near side. Kraft to take the throw-in back towards the halfway line, looking for Cher. Newcastle leading by a goal to nil. Chelsea with 10 players chasing Newcastle United, who have just come off the bridle at the start of the second half. Let's see what happens in the final 25 minutes here.
Cucurella now can't get forward as much either, because he's got to worry about the directness and the pace of Jacob Murphy.
Newcastle lead by a goal to nil. The latest odds are available on Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Newcastle to win the game at 8-1 on, the draw 5-1, Chelsea 25-1. That's all thanks to Betfair. Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on Football Whackers or Bet Builders this week. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Minimum odds, T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org. Ball cleared away by Sanchez, up over the halfway line, burned forward, picked up by Caicedo into Neto, then back to Caicedo, halfway line Fernandes, beaten to it by a combination of Miley and Tonali. It goes back into the Newcastle half, and James then, after it's launched forward, manages to nudge it into Lavia, and Chelsea come forward through the centre circle onto Caicedo, back to the left with Enzo Fernandez, back to Caicedo again, then on to Lavia, a reverse ball into Palmer, cut out by Murphy, it flicks into the air, Chalobah just sit down, a little bit scrappy. Chelsea again getting a little bit too urgent to get the ball forward, and Enzo Maresca comes out to the edge of the technical area and just asks them to calm it down a little bit. He goes out wide to Neto. Neto looks to try and bring the ball out of the sky, goes out of play and away for a throw-in. Chelsea's only shot on target came from Marc Cucurella, who drove the ball towards the far corner, and 6'5" Nick Pope got down superbly to stop it. It's the only real chance of the second half that we've had from either team. Here is Chalobah out on the left, Cucurella into Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez centrally into Cole Palmer, back to Enzo Fernandez again, across to Lavia. Oh, it's almost Barnes who cuts it out, but he sort of overshot the runway. The ball goes into James, who produced a brilliant cross towards the far post, but there's no Chelsea player there to get on the end of it.
Harvey Barnes was a little bit unlucky. He was stretching to make the interception. He just overstretched and it went through his legs. Just like to see Newcastle just go back to that direct style of football. Pop a few balls in behind the fullbacks. Pop a few balls to get the defence turned round, going the other way. That's where they're most effective. It's almost like they've been sucked into being a little bit cautious, going, well, 1-0 up, got an extra man, we don't have to quite do what we were doing.
Well, I've noticed that about a lot of teams that get themselves into a good position in games at this stage of the season, because there's so much to play for.
Yeah, and sometimes actually it is quite difficult. You know, psychologically playing against the 10 men, you do start to think this should be a little bit easier.
Yeah, Isaac has just wandered himself into a dodgy situation, given the ball away, and Enzo Fernandez has played it out wide to Palmer. Palmer into the penalty area, low cross into the box, blocked by Emil Kraft. Back out to this near side, collected by Palmer again, trying to dazzle his way past Cher, can't do so. Cher just manages to snuff it out and goes out for a corner away to our left-hand side.
Chelsea are on the ascendancy at the moment. I have to say probably on top, even with, you know, a man down. I think Eddie Howe needs to get a message onto his players saying, look, for 5 minutes, let's get the ball in their half, get up the pitch, go back to what we were doing well, putting the ball in behind.
Well, Chelsea will hope that they can make this spell count. Palmer, from the corner kick from Neto, sends it centrally to Caicedo, then back out to Palmer. Languid in his approach, but trying to up the intensity from Chelsea. Chelsea want to try and put pressure on Newcastle. Here is Lavia. Again, forward by James. James overhits that. It goes out of play and away for a goal kick. Well, I think we expected the pattern was going to be like this. Once they realised that Chelsea were going to try and go for it hell for leather, Newcastle have just backed off a little bit and will look to sort of border raid and go on the counter-attacks. But those counter-attacks have just got fewer and far between.
And that's what I mean. You know, normally in transition, they're absolutely brilliant. You've got 3 or 4 players swarming forward. We haven't really seen that so far in this half.
Flick forward by Miley. He's dealing with a dodgy ball which didn't quite reach him at the required tempo. And there's a charge forward by Livramento, goes through Reece James almost committed a foul there. Referee said play on. Ball bent beautifully by Bruno Guimaraes out towards the right hand side. Kraft gets up to help the attack. Back into Bruno Guimaraes again. He's got Barnes and Isaac waiting in the centre. Murphy takes it on now. Clip forward to Bruno Guimaraes, who's in behind the defence. His right-footed shot is volleyed into the crowd. What an opportunity for Newcastle United to score a second goal. Brilliant run by Bruno Guimaraes. The Chelsea defence didn't spot him or go with him. They switched off, allowed him to run in behind, and he should have done better with it.
It's a clever little scoop just over the top from Jacob Murphy. Bruno Guimaraes was in corner of the 6-yard box, and he just had a really wild swipe at it. I mean, and he's cleared it high into the Gallagher end. But again, it was Jacob Murphy, causing problems. Where he's very good, he makes a lot of unselfish runs down this right-hand side. He runs away from the ball, and that means that Cucurella has to go with him, and that creates space for somebody else.
Goal in the FA Vase final at Wembley. Here's Ian Abrahams.
8 minutes of the second half gone. Equaliser for Whitstable Town. Whiteleaf 1, Whitstable 1. It's a goal for Harvey Smith. It really should have been saved by the goalkeeper, but I think it might have just taken a slight deflection. It's Whiteleaf 1, Whitstable 1.
Manchester United against West Ham United, Nottingham Forest, Leicester, Tottenham, Crystal Palace. All get underway at 2:15 on the Sunday session. Adrian will take you round the grounds. Fernandez wanting a free kick. Referee said no. Lavia ends up pulling down Tonali, gives away a free kick in the right fullback position. Newcastle have the ball again.
Referee's missing 2 or 3 little fouls. Players are clever. They're barging into people off the ball. Not quite sure what the referee's looking at.
.72 gone. It's Talksport. Sunday afternoon. Newcastle leading by a goal to 0. Playoff semi-finals on the way throughout the course of the day. Also going to Wickham late on tonight. Make sure you get the Talksport app. You can flick between all the stations. All the schedules and information is up there. Tonali engaged by Cucurella. Went down. Referee said play on. They worked it wide to Kraft, and now Murphy's got it. Infield to Tonali. And he plays it back to Dan Burn. 18 to go.
Just a bit more cautious, aren't they, Newcastle? Like you say, think
cautious or careful. They're keeping more possession now.
Bit of both. I think whereas before they get that ball and they ping it in behind, and now thinking, well, we don't need to do that.
Yeah. The Kraft over on this near side. His introduction's made a bit of a difference, I think. Into Bruno Guimaraes, trying to turn under pressure. Edge of the D. Back to Miley. Miley back wide. On to Barnes. Barnes. Miley down the left side. Tees it up for Livramento. Bruno Guimaraes drops out the penalty area. No one engages him. Too much room for Barnes inside the box. Goes past Colwell, who gets back at him just about. Gets the tackle in. The ball breaks to Miley. Goes out for a goal kick.
Great challenge from Colwell. Absolutely had to be on the money, and it was. Just as he dropped his shoulder, he stuck his right foot out. Barnes looking to go down the outside.
It was a good challenge.
Really good challenge.
He had to react, and Levi Colwell doing just enough to stop Harvey Barnes from getting in again. That's 2 opportunities now that Newcastle have had in the last 5 minutes. Bruno Guimaraes sending wide from the edge of the 6-yard box, and then Robert Sanchez taking his time once again, and Isaac almost shutting him down. Ball picked up on the right-hand side by Kraft. Kraft plays it towards Murphy. Murphy into Bruno Guimaraes. Isaac. They've won it high up once again, Newcastle, and they're putting pressure on Chelsea once more. Here is Murphy with Kraft on the outside, and he plays the little delicate ball into the path, Murphy, of Alexander Isaac. And I tell you what, that wasn't far away, Danny.
It was a brilliant idea. He just got his head up. He looked, there was a little bit of a gap. Not quite sure what's going on. Change of ball for whatever reason. A couple of subs from Chelsea. He got his head up. He saw a little gap. Just tried to roll it in behind. Isaac was just a yard off it.
Malagusto is coming on. Trevor Chalobah is being replaced by Jadon Sancho, and Romeo Lavia by Gusto. Danny, how are Chelsea going to approach the rest of the game then?
They just got to go for it. By the looks of it, it's just, throw some attacking players on, stick Sancho on this left-hand side, try and get at Kraft. Reece James has popped into midfield as well. They've got one centre-half.
Levi Colwell has just turned round to Malagusto and said, what's the tactical instruction here, please?
They've got one centre half. That's what it is.
They've gone
3 at the back.
Isaac plays it into Murphy. Murphy tries to take on Cucurella. Goes back wide towards the left-hand side from the halfway line. Newcastle get it forward to Barnes from Miley. On towards Murphy inside the area. Back across the face of goal. It's too high for Isaac. And it runs out the other side.
I think this is almost just Maresca just saying, well, let's just throw some players on and go for it. Not quite sure what.
He must have thought about it a little bit more than that, surely.
I'm not convinced. You're playing 3-on-3 at the back. You've got Gusto, Colwell and Cucurella up against Barnes, Jacob Murphy and Isaac. Two for two in midfield. Newcastle still have the spare man in their back four. Like, it's incredibly brave.
It's almost like a 3-3-3 formation, isn't it, from Chelsea now? With Gusto and Cucurella either side of Colwell. And 3 in midfield, James Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. And then Sancho and Neto expected to get, I think, through quite a lot of work on the flanks with Cole Palmer as the man up top.
Well, they've got to go for it. I get that. There's nothing really to lose for Chelsea. And sometimes that's easier, as a player and as a team, as a manager. At the moment, they're losing. Simple as that. So you might as well say, well, you know what? We went for it, and if it doesn't work, that's okay.
14 to go. Here's Livramento running on the inside channel, trying to get the better of Neto, but Neto's just a little bit speedier than him and gets there first. Gusto gets it back to his goalkeeper. It's away by Rob Sanchez. I don't know if that's away or not.
Why do they keep passing it back to the goalkeeper?
I don't know, because he can't kick it.
It's like, you must, as a Newcastle player, be thinking, oh, brilliant, go on, give it back to the keeper, give it back to the keeper.
And that sounds a little bit harsh, and it seems a little bit flippant for me to say that. But
well, no, but it's true.
There's a frustration element there, because that actually Robert Sanchez has missed kicks too many times today. Here is Barnes down the left-hand side, getting into the box, trying to take on Gusto. Gusto trying to nudge the ball back to the edge of the area, but he can't get there ahead of Barnes, and it's out to Miley, then to Livramento, then Bruno Guimaraes, and then Livramento again, round the corner to Barnes with a heavy touch. He was in the inside left channel, and Sanchez came out and was the recipient of the ball, because Barnes, when he first initially controlled it, just overhit it. Neto at the other end, trying to get back to the edge of his own area is Tonali. Neto comes infield, tries to find Enzo Fernandez. The ball runs loose, and Chelsea have it once again. Just over 13 minutes to go. This is Talksport. Newcastle lead by 1-0. Live on Talksport this lunchtime. Sunday session to come. Loads of playoff football as well. It's back to Caicedo, then infield to Cole Palmer. Palmer coming forward and playing it wide towards the left. Sancho takes on the fullback Kraft. Round the outside to Neto. Across comes Cher, and it's out of play and away for a corner kick.
What an opportunity for Harvey Barnes on that inside left position. Great, swift, one-touch football on the edge of the box from Newcastle. Unfortunately, Harvey Barnes had a touch like me and kicked it about 10 yards ahead.
It was a better touch than I would have come up with, but it was a little bit heavy from Harvey Barnes and gobbled up by Sanchez. Corner kick away to our left. Jadon Sancho to take it, right-footed. Hand in the air. There's a bit of pushing and shoving going on inside the box. Enzo Fernandez is the guilty party, and he is being spoken to now. Bruno Guimaraes has gone down. Argentina against Brazil in a micro battle on the edge of the 6-yard box. Newcastle lead Chelsea by 1-0 on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whether you're on holiday, at home or away this summer, Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that's just right for you. There's still some pushing and shoving going on. I think they're trying to wind up Enzo Fernandez because they know he's on a yellow card.
Just let it go, ref, and when it comes into the box, if there's a foul, give it. Hang on, he's on the pitch.
Well, that's Tosin Adarabioyo, who's just walked onto the pitch.
That's a booking.
And he's given something to Cole Palmer. The referee has not booked him. He should have done. Murphy coming forward. Caicedo with a challenge, which he gets away with. The ball breaks to the right-hand side. Neto takes it on for Chelsea, attacking the goal away to our left. Can they come up with an equaliser here, Chelsea, in this second half? 10 minutes to go. Out wide to Gusto. Gusto back to James. James onto Neto. Neto across to Cucurella. Cucurella's had their only shot on target so far. Out to Jadon Sancho now, trying to take on the fullback. Goes one way, then the other, then back the other way again, then back on the outside, then tees it up for Cole Palmer, who, well, Well, they got 3 points for a conversion in rugby. It was so high through the middle of the posts, and it's out for a goal kick away to our left-hand side.
For players of a certain age, Jadon Sancho then was a little bit like Peter Beagrie. He went one way, did him, came back, did him the other way, then did him the other way, then did him the other way, and never crossed it.
Well, he did give it to Cole Palmer. Palmer's effort was not the greatest.
But it's too late then. He's under pressure too much. Oh, there's a little bit of afters. There's a little bit of pointing going on about between Guimaraes and Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah, well, they've...
Fernandez on a yellow card, isn't he?
I've already mentioned they're trying to wind him up, aren't they? They're trying to get him sent off. Here's Cole Palmer, edge of the air. Oh, Dan Burn comes across, so he's too fast. And now Isaac is running forward, and Sanchez has had to come out.
Nah, that's bang out of order from Cucurella.
He's run across the path of Isaac.
Knew exactly what he was doing.
Gone down.
Yeah.
The referee hasn't done anything.
No, that's a dive. That's a dive.
Isaac is now left a little bit on Cucurella. Free kick has been given.
I want to go on and I'm going to start shaking the referee.
Go on, go down there. There's a row breaking out on the halfway line involving Graham Jones, Tosin Odorabayo, and the fourth official. Tosin is having a go at Rob Jones. Willie Caballero has been told by Rob Jones to keep his substitutes under control. Here is Jadon Sancho into James with a cross for the outside of the boot, which is steered away by Livramento. Ball picked up in midfield. Caicedo has it now. He finds Jadon Sancho once again. It remains 1-0 to Newcastle United, and we've got 8 minutes to go. Fiercely competitive, full of intensity.
Oh, there's definitely something left in this game. There's a big incident, I think, coming.
There's a bit of needle on the benches. There's a bit of needle on the field, and there is high stakes that are being played for. It's 1-0 to Newcastle. A big 10 minutes or so to come with injury time. Neto flicking the ball to the far post, looking for Jadon Sancho. He's peered away. It's given to Enzo Fernandez over the bar. What an opportunity. It might well have taken a flick off the fingertips of Nick Pope.
Yeah, it did. I think it was always going over. Nick Pope couldn't take that risk. I think it was always rising over the bar. But, I mean, Chelsea have been much, much better in this second half. But the referee, you don't need to have played the game to understand what's going on there. We can all see it. It's just, don't know what he's looking at.
1-0 to Newcastle. It's a corner kick to Chelsea, and Reece James, whose right-footed delivery in towards the near post, headed away by Byrne. Two players in Chelsea blue go to ground. Referee says nothing doing. I think it's a clash of heads. I think they've hit each other.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I think Enzo Fernandez and Colwell have bumped into each other, and he's trying to claim a penalty.
Enzo is down. Referee's played on. Caicedo in midfield has it for Chelsea. Ball out wide towards the left is picked up by Neto. Neto approaching Emil Kraft. He goes to go on the outside, then hesitates, then goes on the outside towards the byline, then comes back on his right foot, produces a cross. Reece James heads it down. Bruno Guimaraes further away, and now Barnes picks it up, accelerates, charges forward, tries to get it to the halfway line. Across comes Colwell. Good bit of skill by him to pinch it, and then he's fouled by Barnes. Free kick halfway. Enzo Maresca is still in the ear of the fourth official, and Chelsea want to get things moving quickly. They play it out towards the right hand side, and Gusto on to Sancho. None of those positions that we were talking about earlier have remained. Levi Colwell is on his own.
Yeah, Levi Colwell's defending. Everybody else is just all over the place trying to attack.
And Chelsea just got to make sure they keep the ball and don't give it away, because if they were to give it away now under pressure from Bruno Guimaraes or Isaac, then I'm afraid that there'll be a free run on goal from those players. Colwell looks expended as well, by the way. He looks absolutely cream-crackered. Neto with a touch. Gives it back to Cucurella, but it wasn't a great pass. Murphy will squeeze him, send it backwards. Enzo Fernandez has got it now. Newcastle happy to commit a foul. And actually, Newcastle look as if they're running out of a little bit of gas here, and Chelsea look more energised despite the fact they've only got 10 players.
Well, they're on the ascendancy, aren't they? You know, it's amazing how momentum gives you such a big energy boost. It's just Guimaraes just had a little swipe at Enzo Fernandez there, brought him down.
Such a big moment. 5 minutes plus stoppage time to play. It could be a defining 5 minutes. In it goes to Palmer. Palmer coming forward, headed away by Byrne. Headed down by James, collected by Guimaraes. It goes back to Dan Burn, who looks for Tonali.
That's a punch.
Caicedo
Is that not a punch?
to the floor. And it is a free kick.
Just have a look at this on the replay, Sam. I think he throws an arm. I don't know whether he's trying to throw him to the ground.
I don't think it was a punch. I think it was more of a sort of drag and throw to the floor, wasn't it? There's a little bit of tentativeness about the Newcastle support. Just a few of them looking a little bit nervy now as we approach the end of the game, because Chelsea have just sort of crept back into it. How Newcastle manage this is going to be all important.
No, we didn't get to see a replay.
Well, the fact that the VAR hasn't checked it would suggest that it was not as...
but he was all over the back of him. He sort of threw him to the ground and threw his arm towards him.
Well, that's a poor touch by Emil Kraft. And as he's tried to turn the ball forward, it's blocked by Sancho and it's out on this near side.
Ended up doing him a favour, didn't it? Because Sancho closed him down and he ended up winning the throw-in. Just take the sting out of the last couple of minutes.
Talksport live on a Sunday lunchtime. And again, the ball came towards Barnes, but Malagusto was more likely to go across and win that. He puts it out for a throw, and it's a Newcastle ball, but they're just trying to eat into the time now. Remember, we've got the Sunday session coming up, the final word with Adeola Depot and Carlton Co after that. Transgiro Express is always a bonus on a Sunday night, listening to all of the fallout from across Europe. And we've got the Chesterfield, Walsall and Wycombe Wanderers Charlton playoffs live on Talksport 2 this afternoon from 3 o'clock. They roll into one another. Be fascinating to listen to. More playoffs throughout the course of the week. And then we've got live football for you Friday night. 2 games, Aston Villa against Tottenham on 2, and Chelsea Manchester United. And how crucial is that going to be now? Cucurella picks the ball up, charges forward. He's got Enzo Fernandez to his left. He steers it into the Argentine's path. He gets towards the edge of the box. Cucurella falls over as he gets the return ball, and Newcastle are able to clear. Isak trying to win it, but Caicedo is across. It's Sancho picks it up. It goes down the left. It's away by Murphy. And he will do for Newcastle United as we get into the final 3 minutes of the game.
Newcastle look dead on their feet, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they pretty much have done since the second half. The intensity levels.
They put a lot into that first 45 minutes.
And that's what they did against against Liverpool when I saw them 3-3 here and couldn't quite keep those levels up. Palace, they managed to do it.
Steered away by Robert Sanchez. Thrust into Enzo Fernandez, bit of room to play, out to the far side. Cole Palmer being watched by Miley, comes infield through the middle of the Newcastle half, onto Enzo Fernandez. James round the corner, Malagusta with a chance to cross, it's in towards Reece James with a header over the bar. Chance for Chelsea, big chance for the Chelsea captain, just didn't have the poise in front of goal when he required it.
Huge chance. You know, Chelsea, in all fairness, have not looked like they've had 10 men in the second half. It's a little floaty ball into sort of the near post area. In all fairness to Reece James, it may be just a fraction behind him. He's having to lean back, and by trying to do that and get a bit more power on it, it just diverts it a foot or so over the bar.
Pope to clear away to our left-hand side. It's cleared away by the big goalkeeper. Cucurella heads it out towards the near side, but won by Tonali in midfield. Caicedo gives away a free kick, unnecessarily so. And then Bruno Guimaraes holds on to the ball. Colwell tries to rob it.
What is Colwell doing?
Across. Colwell is there. Kraft is still mouthing off. It was almost a little bit like the end of a Six Nations game where Bruno Guimaraes
the ball goes loose.
Wouldn't let it out of the ruck, and they're all sort of scrambling around him trying to get it out.
Penalty for holding. Not releasing the ball. But it was Newcastle's foul. Newcastle had the free kick anyway, so I don't know what Colwell was doing.
Now they're now just wasting time, Newcastle, by coming across and taking on extra fluids.
But if Colwell doesn't get a booking for that, I've got no idea.
The referee has taken out his yellow card. I don't think he quite sort of
knows what he's doing.
He gave it to Kraft in the end. It was Emil Kraft.
He doesn't know what he's doing, I think, would be the answer.
I think he gave the yellow card to Emil Kraft. Going to be a free kick. What a day. 1-0 to Newcastle United into the 90th minute we go. 3-0 to Rangers against Aberdeen. Going to end the season on a high. And there is a free kick for Newcastle United on this near side to be taken by Sandro Tonali in the final few moments. He sends it out towards Dan Burn, who's on the left edge of the penalty area. Round the corner for Bruno Guimaraes. There's men in the box if he can find them, especially on the far post. He goes for a dipping shot. It's a brilliant goal. It's a fantastic goal. It might have taken a deflection, but they won't care because they celebrate a vital victory against Chelsea in the race for a place in the Champions League. And Newcastle's memorable campaign sets up the perfect final chapter. Bruno Guimaraes goes over, takes the acclaim, and they lead by 2-0.
What a finish. You're right, it was a tiny little deflection. Not quite sure who it came off. But Bruno Guimaraes, he's got the corner flag in his hand. I think he's waving that around.
Well, they might just have planted their flag in the Champions League.
Oh, a la Graham Souness Galatasaray. What a hit. I mean, he comes out to him. Great play from Dan Burn initially. And then all of a sudden, he cuts inside Bruno Guimaraes. Goes for the far post. Little deflection. Takes it over top of the goalkeeper to the far top corner. 5 minutes to go of injury time. What a magnificent hit that is. Newcastle, wow.
I can't see how much of a deflection there is.
There is a slight, there you go.
Tiny little toe deflection.
See? Yeah. But do you know what? When I saw it, it's just instinct. You know, like something you just see it and go, that has to have taken a deflection, the flight of the ball.
Yeah. As we said, it did sort of dip as it went into the far corner, but it's a brilliant effort and it's a great goal. That means 2-0 to Newcastle United.
Let's see what he does with Enzo Fernandez now. I think it might be winding him up a little bit more.
Chelsea find themselves 2-0 down, and this is significant in the race for the top 5.
Colwell's an idiot.
Oh, he's just gone steaming in on Fabian Schär. The referee's gone across, and the referee is going to give a yellow card here, and Schär is completely, absolutely furious.
That's just ridiculous. That's more dangerous than Jackson's is.
So he's gone up with his straight into Fabian Schär. Enzo Maresca just trying to speak to Cucurella to try and calm things down. John Brooks has got a big decision to make here. He's looking for Colwell.
Did you know what I mean though, Sam? That's more dangerous than the Jackson one. Because that's deliberate, that's intentional.
Colwell's then idiotically reacted to that and started bellowing at John Brooks. He's got a yellow card. He's going to talk himself into another one. He'll get sent off.
And he should have had one a minute ago down here when he was trying to grab the ball off Kraft.
Yeah. It's a bit of ill discipline, and that's been the problem with this Chelsea team. Because they're so young, because they're so naive, sometimes they get themselves a little bit
that's not an excuse.
Involved into situations they shouldn't. Well, we haven't seen a replay of that incident, but it was ill-advised from Levi Colwell.
Stupidity.
So this is how the table's going to look if it remains as it is, with Newcastle leading by 2-0. They'll have 66 points, within a point of Arsenal, who've still got to play theirs this afternoon. Manchester City 65, they drop to 4th. Chelsea in 5th, 63, only above Aston Villa on goal difference. It means that Nottingham Forest, if they beat Leicester City later today, can go above Chelsea and knock them out of the top 5. Off comes Alexander Isak. On comes Callum Wilson. Off comes Bruno Guimaraes. On comes Sean Longstaff. We're into the third of 5 added minutes at the end of the game. Bruno Guimaraes has scored what he thinks is the clincher.
Oh, it is. Chelsea aren't getting 2 goals in the last 3 or 4 minutes, whatever's left now.
And he's taking the acclaim from the supporters, who are absolutely delighted because they think now that they have got 1 foot and 3 toes in the Champions League places.
I think that was clever from Eddie Howe. It's getting a bit emotional, it's getting very, very tense. Bruno Guimaraes is on a booking. There's the little bit of Brazil-Argentina in the middle of the park. I think he might, for the last couple of minutes, just taking him out of the firing line.
They've become adept at writing new history, Newcastle, this season under Eddie Howe. They're about to post a result that will push them close to another chapter of that. They've won a trophy, they've been on a historic run, and now they're close to securing a return to the Champions League. Here is Enzo Fernandez to Palmer, inside the box, a lovely ball through the 6-yard box. No one to finish it off. Jackson sent off after 36 minutes. It made a difference, because although Chelsea didn't start particularly well, if they'd had him in the second half here, then it would have been a different game maybe. Chelsea down to 10 players, haven't had a focal point that they've needed, despite creating opportunities. Nothing more than that, just a couple of efforts from Enzo Fernandez and one from Cucurella. Apart from that, it's been a tough time for Chelsea. They've been better in the second half, but they couldn't have been much worse than their first half display. And Eddie Howe once again has won the tactical battle, changing the formation before the game, and eventually the scoreboard is in his favour as well. Bruno Guimaraes scoring what they think is the clincher. A head injury for Caicedo stops the play. Newcastle will have taken 46 points from their last 21 Premier League games. That's not a fluke. Going into the weekend, only Liverpool had accumulated more from the last 20. It shows you how good Newcastle have been, how consistent they've been in the second half of the season, Danny Mills.
And especially here at St James's Park. I think the way that they play, credit to Eddie Howe, credit to the staff. Even when Eddie Howe was missing for 2 or 3 games, still played brilliantly. Absolutely superb. But obviously when Jason Tindall was in the stewardship, I just think that the intensity that they have, if they can find a way to keep that up for 90 minutes, they could be a real threat next season.
Well, there might be a real threat this season, the way things are going. They could still finish second, Here is Wilson. On to Barnes trying to escape. Chelsea was second in December. Newcastle were 12th. Now it's Newcastle are favourites for the Champions League, and Chelsea, who could be out of the top 5 by the end of the day if Nottingham Forest beat Leicester. Ball back towards the edge of the box. There's the full-time whistle. Newcastle United know that a return to the Champions League is tantalisingly close, and should they achieve it, and there is every indication that they will, and when you stick in the Carabao Cup victory, this could be the best season that Newcastle United have had in 101 years. Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali with the telling moments for the tune. It puts them in pole position to qualify for the Champions League. Chelsea came on strong in the second half, despite Nicholas Jackson being sent off in the first 45, but they were outfoxed early on in the game, and they never got on the score sheet. They've dropped points and now are staring at the fact that they need to probably win the last 2 games. One against Manchester United Friday Night Live on Talksport, and another on the final day of the season against Nottingham Forest, which could be crucial if they want to get back to the big time. Newcastle go 3rd in the Premier League with 2 to play. It's finished Newcastle United 2, Chelsea 0.
Sam Matchface, thank you very much. What an atmosphere at St James's Park. What a day for the home side. Really under the cosh in that second half. Chelsea, admirably for them, 10-man down, really came out Newcastle in those last 45 minutes. But it is Newcastle who escaped with the win, and 3 vital points in the race for Champions League football. Danny Mills, it is an important win. It's absolutely vital. And does it all but secure their spot, potentially?
Well, 2 games to go, it's very close. They're going to have to obviously probably lose both games, and everybody else below them win those games as well for them to fall out. So they're close. It's not done and dusted yet, and Eddie Howe will be very aware of that. But this is an absolutely massive result for Newcastle. Puts them in the box seat, gives them every opportunity. Not just to, obviously they won a trophy already this season, but they're to get back in the Champions League. What a season that is for Newcastle. And like you heard from Sam there, Christmas time, Chelsea were second, Newcastle were 12th.
How things can change in a matter of months. Chelsea were picked as title contenders potentially, and now they're fighting for a place in the Champions League. Didn't go their way today. Let's pick our man of the match now, shall we, with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the match on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Making a big move or planning a clear out with vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, we've got a van.
Danny, who are you going for?
I'm going to go for Sandro Tonali, not just because he got the goal in the first half, obviously, very early on, but he controlled that midfield. He dominated that first half, and in the second, he had to dig in at times, and he got back. He made some really important challenges. He was all over the place. I think, clearly he's been one of Newcastle's best players this season. From what he's obviously missed, 10 months, he's come back. He's been absolutely superb. But again, the consistency levels of his performances, yet again, have been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, hasn't he? He's been one of those players who's just a standout for that side. That was our man of the match from today's game with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.